Saskatchewan's premier candidate for Coach of the Year honors, Joe Farragelli, who has adopted a highly successful quarterbacking system, starting Joe Barnes, a strong runner and capable passer. And then going to passer deluxe John Hufnagel, who until last week against Hamilton had been producing scintillating comeback victories. Frank Bush is certainly the East leading contender for Coach of the Year. And when asked about the Ticat improvement, Frank always points to one of the smartest quarterbacks in football, Tom Clements. He had great success going to Canadian Rocky DiPietro, the leading receiver in last week's game. Live from Ivor Wynne Stadium, the CFL on CTV presents two vastly improved teams, Saskatchewan Roughriders fighting for a Western playoff berth, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have clinched first in the East.
CTV Sports presents Canadian Football. Brought to you in part by Brute, the classic in men's fragrances. By Panasonic, just slightly ahead of our time. And by Carling O'Keefe, brewers of OV and the Carlsberg family. The CFL on CTV.
Carling O'Keefe, your box seat to the CFL. From kickoff to sign-off, Carling O'Keefe is bringing home the best. This year, the CFL features a full interlocking schedule. There are new stars and familiar favorites in what promises to be the best CFL season yet. Catch all the action from your home box seat. Carling O'Keefe, bring the CFL home to you.
About fans, the Saskatchewan Roughriders most certainly are the greatest fans in the West. They have proved it year after year. And as a result of their loyalty, they make it tough for the teams that move into Taylor Field. And there is no question that the West is duplicated in the East by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, because the Hamilton Tiger Cat fans are really the pick of the East. And they make it tough on the opposition. Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Stevenson, along with Pat Marsden and Mike Wadsworth, and welcome to our CFL on CTV game. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Well, with me, we have the Hamilton Tiger Cat fans. As I said, there's no question that they are number one in the East. They make it as tough on the opposition here as you Saskatchewan Roughrider fans do when you're out there. Here they've got a theme song, and it says, "Eat 'em raw," and they're not kidding when they say it, because they are tough. This section I'm sitting in has had fans that have been around here for years. The two ladies in front of me, as a matter of fact, date back many, many years, as they have been following football since the Fritzie Hansen days. Well, now, let's find out about the teams, now that you know how tough the fans are. We're going to go upstairs to Pat Marsden and Mike Wadsworth.
Well, thank you, Bill, and hello again, everybody across Canada. Wherever you're watching, we trust that you're enjoying a happy Thanksgiving Day. Michael, it'll be a happy Thanksgiving Day for the Saskatchewan Roughriders if they can avenge last week's 30-26 loss to these same Hamilton Ticats. But I suspect they're going to have to do some things differently, because really Hamilton dominated them in the first half last week.
Pat, I think this afternoon we're going to see a passing duel once again between Tommy Clements with Hamilton and Hufnagel and Barnes for Saskatchewan. Defensively, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have to play the same type of aggressive blitzing game that made them a real contender in the West this year. Lyle Wozniacki and Vince Goldsmith have to come through with big efforts and put more pressure on Tom Clements. Offensively, sit in behind that good offensive line that has given Hufnagel and Barnes protection and work against a disciplined kind of zone coverage that Hamilton employs. They try to play percentage defense. If Saskatchewan can just show a little patience and work against them slowly, but working in the air, that's where they could have success, and I'm looking forward to the game.
Well, there's no doubt about it that it should be a great one. John Hufnagel is going to start today at quarterback, and when I was asking Coach Joe Farragelli about it, I said, why does he start? He said, well, he wasn't very happy with his performance last week. John himself wasn't happy, and he said, he asked me, can I take over right at the start? And he said, why not? He said, Joe, of course, will play. And
also, Hufnagel came in at a point in time when Hamilton had such a commanding lead and had just jumped on top of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's defense can't allow that to happen, because the Hamilton defense is too tough to come back against.
Well, we're just moments away from the opening kickoff, but right now, it's the national anthem.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Hamilton Tiger Cats are all set. We'll have the opening kickoff in just a moment.
Day for this Thanksgiving Day encounter, as Lorne Woods will be our referee this afternoon. Kickoff for the Hamilton Ticats. Emmanuel Tolbert is deep, so is Dwight Edwards, and Edwards will field it from his 3-yard line. Good coverage by that Hamilton unit as they contain Edwards inside his 20-yard line. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who need a win here today to move back into a tie with the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for that final playoff spot in the Western Conference, will start this way. John Hufnagel, as we mentioned, is the quarterback, with Lester Brown and Greg Fieger in his backfield, and a lot of people who can catch the football, including Emmanuel Tolbert, and of course Chris DeFrance too. Hufnagel quickly puts it up to Tolbert, and he's ridden to the ground by David Shaw at the 29-yard line, which will leave him about a yard short of that first down. But the Riders come out throwing, and we anticipate they'll do an awful lot of it this afternoon.
3 receivers to that side. They also had Joey Walters and Fieger came up. And here's a look at that Hamilton defense. The strength of it definitely in their linebackers, led by Ben Zambiazzi, but also a very strong secondary with David Shaw, number 37, being the premier back in that area.
Well, as a matter of fact, Tolbert did pick up the first down, and the ball is placed at the Saskatchewan 30-yard line, 1st and 10 from that point, and this is Lester Brown. And there was good penetration by Mike Samples, along with Grover Covington, who actually was in there first. Grover Covington, number 66, was the man who penetrated to bring down the Saskatchewan running back for a loss of 2.
Hamilton Tiger Cats have a good aggressive front line as you take a look at how they'll line up defensively against that fine Saskatchewan offensive line. The defense of Hamilton can play very aggressively because they're backed up so well by that trio of linebackers.
The loss is a couple. It is 2nd and 12 for Hufnagel. Throws it over the middle to Joey Walters, and Walters has the first down as he crosses the 40 to about the 43-yard line. Howard Fields, number 16, and Preston Young, 28, were there to make the stop. The gain is 15 yards and a 2nd consecutive first down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And a big play on 2nd down as they go to their leading receiver, Joey Walters. He's 2nd in all of Canada behind Joe Poplowski. 69 receptions. You know they'll use him a lot this afternoon.
Ball is placed right at the 42-yard line. It is a first down, Saskatchewan. They fake the draw. Now they give it to Lester Brown. And Brown is forced out by 37 and 6. But that was not the smoothest play that the Riders have run this year. Unfortunately, Brown was able to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Saw the kind of people, too, that reacted up. They had Covington breaking off and getting chased from the inside out. Also, Harold Woods and David Shaw. They have a very good, strong defense. It reads extremely well and reacts up. Here's another look at it now. It got all plugged up in the middle with the mix-up there. Covington, 66, will break off, but then you'll see number 6 and 37 come into it as well.
Hufnagel wants to put it up, but will not get the opportunity as Ben Zambiazzi tackles and the ball comes loose. They ruled that the quarterback of the Saskatchewan Roughriders was down at the 52-yard line. There is no fumble. They rule he was on the ground when the ball came loose.
I'll tell you, one of those close calls, and I think it deserves another look. It seemed to me that Hufnagel had his hand stretched out, and as he hit the ground, he lost control of the ball. You judge for yourself now. Zambiazzi coming over was a little shallow in his pattern, but eventually caught up to him. Number 31, there he is. Watch that arm out there. He lost it right away.
It is a first down on the scramble by John Hufnagel. The Hamilton fans not too pleased. The give is to Lester Brown inside, but he was upended by John Priestner, the middle linebacker, who had split the seam and got in and just hit Brown on the ankles. And though Brown was able to fall forward, his advance will only be about a yard and a half. The ball is right at midfield.
Brown is a very capable back, an excellent 4.5-yard average. But this Hamilton defense pattern, I think, a little too strong to irregularity. They're going to have to find it in the air.
Go, David. Second and 8. Hufnagel puts it up over the head of Talbert with David Shaw covering. And so for the first time in this ball game, we're going to have a punting situation with Ken Clark coming out onto the field for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Clark, incidentally, averaging 44.5 yards a punt this season. And so back to receive is number 16, Howard Fields, and Steve Stapler, number 3. They stand at the Hamilton 15-yard line. As Clark end here at Hamilton, it has a tendency to change throughout the course of the game. Right now, Clark is punting into it. End over end ball. Fields takes it at the 24-yard line and gets up over the 30 to about the 33. So the Hamilton Ticats will be starting in pretty good field position. We are still scoreless as the Cats get their hands on the ball for the first time. Hamilton nothing, Saskatchewan nothing. We'll be back in just a moment. The Hamilton Tiger Cats get their hands on the football for the first time in this contest. They take over at their 33-yard line. And that's the way they'll line up with Tommy Clements at quarterback, and what an outstanding season he has had. 24 touchdown passes. Clements fires for Stapler. It was high, and he really took a hit from Steve Dennis. Dennis came right through him, did exactly what he had to do, was going to make sure that Stapler, if he was able to get up high enough, was going to pay for it. And so the ball falls to the ground incomplete. It'll be second and 10. As you look at the Saskatchewan linebacker and defensive halfback brigade, and Mike, what a job these guys have done.
They've done a tremendous job. I love that Vince Goldsmith. I like to see him come in the blitz. He's had 13 sacks this year.
Clements fires, and the pass goes incomplete. Rocky DiPietro couldn't squeeze it. A good job by Clements in finding the open receiver. Kenny McEachran was there on the defensive coverage, but Hamilton tries 2 passes. They go incomplete, and so the Ticats quickly will be punting. Incidentally, in speaking with General Manager Joe Zuger of the Hamilton Ticats just a few minutes before this ball game, he is concerned at the fact that the Cats do not run the ball very well. He said it's great to have Tommy Clements, but we've got to be able to find out how we can run this football. We'll watch to see Fraser and Walters return this punt from Bernie Ruoff. This is Fraser at his 26-yard line. And Stewart gets out to about the 34. So that's where the Saskatchewan Roughriders will begin. There is a flag down on the field, but right now let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Thank you, Pat. Joe Barnes is with me. Joe, I know the Saskatchewan fans especially would like to know what you think you're going to be able to do against the Ticats and what might happen in this series.
Well, it's hard to say. Like last series, we were able to move the ball. John did a good job of hitting the receivers doing hook patterns, and we feel like we can do that. Their cornerbacks and halfbacks give a lot of cushion, and their linebackers, they don't go to their, drop areas. So we thought we'd be able to hook around the linebackers in front of the deep backs.
What was the reason now for the switch of the quarterback start? You normally start, and Hufnagel takes over. Now this is a reversal.
I don't know. Maybe just, different. It's a change, and maybe it'll be a good omen for us.
All right. Thank you, Joe Barnes.
Okay, Bill. Thank you.
There was a roughing penalty against Andre Jones, so the Rough Riders will start back inside their 20-yard line. Swing it up the figure. That's a free ball. That was a lateral, and it definitely should be ruled as such.
Pat, I can't believe it, the number of times we've seen that ball thrown behind the quarterback, and 24 football players and a number of officials on the field didn't play it that way.
Well, I mean, there was no doubt about it.
No question. Now, just watch where he stands. Now, he threw it behind him. You can see the back was at least 2 to 3 yards behind Hufnagel, and nobody played it as a free ball. Otherwise, Saskatchewan would be scrimmaging from that point.
So it goes as an incomplete pass. It'll be second and 10. Saskatchewan, the ball just inside their 20-yard line. John had no place to go. And he's buried by Grover Covington, number 66. There was tremendous pressure on him from the moment he got the ball, and Saskatchewan will be punting on 3rd and 12 or 13.
We talked about the Hamilton defense, 23 with respect to turnovers. Hard, aggressive, tough football. And you see them pursuing John Hufnagel here. He just never really got a chance to get set.
Barring a tremendous punt by Ken Clark, the Ticats are going to enjoy the best field position of the ball game. Fields allows the ball to bounce back toward the Saskatchewan line. It's picked up by Kerry Smith. And Smith, with good determination and hard running, gets inside the Saskatchewan 40-yard line. And so the Ticats will be knocking on the door. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Sue Dasso is with me, our Brute fan survey girl. Now, all these fans, and I'll tell you clearly as hell, must think the Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to win easy. How about it?
Well, I'll give you one clue. They picked Hamilton as the Grey Cup winner, so I guess they would pick them for today, yes.
What do they think they're going to win by today, Sue?
By a whole 12 points.
Is that 12 points Hamilton Tiger Cats can be expected. Thank you, Sue Dasso.
Thank you, Bill.
Rufus Crawford on his first carry of the ball game gets a couple of yards at most. Carl Cornell, number 52, was in there to make the stop. And so it is still scoreless, Hamilton and Saskatchewan, and we'll be back in just a moment. In Stadium, I'm Pat Marsden along with Mike Wadsworth and Bill Stevenson. The Hamilton Ticats have possession at the Saskatchewan 37.5-yard line. Second and a long 7 if you prefer, or a short 8. Clements puts it up for Keith Baker. It goes right through his hands. Baker went high in the air. Billy McBride was a step or two away from him, but Baker couldn't haul it down.
We've seen Hamilton now on 2 different possessions. They've had the opportunities. The protection is given to Clements. Baker ran a great route. They had a couple of receivers wide to that side. Baker being the outside man, isolated him on McBride. You could see that he was open by a couple of yards, but Clements just overshot him a little bit. Hamilton missing just by inches on what could be very successful drives.
A 45-yard field goal attempt from Bernie Ruoff. It is wide. Dwight Edwards takes it 20 yards deep in the end zone. And now goes down on one knee to concede the single point. So Ruoff's 45-yard field goal attempt goes for a single point, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats go out in front 1-0. I would think that Joe Farragelli and the Saskatchewan coaching staff, although not pleased to be trailing, would be thankful on this Thanksgiving Day that they came out of that with just a point scored against them.
When you see the Hamilton Tiger Cats behind Tommy Clements starting out at your own 39-yard line, you're pretty well hoping that they're only going to get 3. On that occasion, they got 1, so I agree with you.
Well, the line of scrimmage had been the 37, so that's where the Saskatchewan Roughriders take over. They give on the draw to Lester Brown, and Brown is tackled from behind as he crossed the 40 to about the 41-yard line. Grover Covington, who has started extremely powerfully for the Hamilton Tiger Cats this afternoon, was there to make the tackle again.
Well, if Saskatchewan's going to run, they'll tend to run more to the left side, trying to attack Carmelo Carteri. Not that he's particularly weak at the linebacking position, but Zambiazzi on the other side is so strong, you'll tend to stay away from him.
The gain was about 3 yards. It is 2nd and 7. Oh, Hufnagel did a great job to get rid of the ball, and then what a job by Chris DeFrance to haul it down for the first down. Harold Woods cut DeFrance down the moment that his fingers touched the ball, but Hufnagel read the blitz and unloaded quickly.
It was just a perfect offensive play, a great catch, and I'll tell you, he did some job to hold on to it.
The Riders get the first down, and they scrimmage now at their 49-yard line. Joey Walters makes the catch and steps out of bounds at the Hamilton 43-yard line. A good job by Hufnagel. Everybody was covered temporarily, and then Walters just did a sideline bend out and made the catch. Harold Woods forced him out at that point. The gain is 18 yards.
I'll tell you, John Hufnagel is not known for being fleet of foot, but he did a pretty good job to get out and around there. Jim Mahler, number 69, trying to chase, but Grover Covington got caught to the inside, and he allowed Hufnagel that extra time.
Saskatchewan has 5 first downs already. Hamilton doesn't have any. This is Lester Brown. And Lester tried to cut it inside, got to about the 41-yard line, but that man Covington was there once again. Grover at 6'2", 235 pounds, playing his best first quarter of the season.
Saskatchewan would like to be able to get some points on the board when these first downs are accumulating, but one thing they are doing, Pat, working against the wind, as much of a factor as it is in today's game, they're pretty well controlling the clock and improving their field position all the time.
The wind has got to be blowing somewhere around the 20-mile-an-hour range. 2nd and 8. The pass is there. Walters makes the catch at about the 34. Excuse me, that was Dwight Edwards. Dwight Edwards, 33, made the reception. David Shaw made the tackle. And it appears that Edwards is short of the first down by a full yard.
You can see Saskatchewan's game plan. They're just working underneath that secondary, working at 8, 9, 10 yards, sometimes 12, but just coming inside and underneath them, trying to get in behind the linebackers and in front of the secondary. Bob.
It is 3rd and a full yard to go. And the Riders will go for it. I think it's a good call, don't you, Mike?
Well, they say you should be able to get that yard when you need it. You're well into Hamilton territory. Your offense is rolling. Yeah, I agree with it. Let's go for it and see what we can get right now.
Let's keep the drive alive because it's been an impressive one. 3rd and a yard. Hufnagel keeps it himself, and he appears to have the first down.
Well, let's credit Bob Foley and Roger Aldag with doing a good job because they just shot out against Burley and Jim Muller. Priestner had also fixed himself down in the middle there, and they just routed those people out of there and gave Hufnagel that little bit of room.
Boy, that Saskatchewan offense is doing a number right now. They have gained 78 yards. Hamilton has gained 2.
Pat and Mike, I just want to interrupt for a moment and tell you this wind is very changeable. At times we're getting extremely strong, and then it dies down. So it is long and short, in other words. It's strong, and then it is not so strong. So it's a very changeable situation on the field.
And that is very common to Ivor Wynne Stadium. 1st and 10, Saskatchewan. Pass is no good. Intending it for Chris DeFrance. Carmelo Cartieri providing the defensive coverage for the Ticats. So it'll be 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan at the 33-yard line. Hufnagel has been good on 5 of 8 pass attempts so far for 58 yards. He's done an excellent job in this first quarter. We're inside, 3 minutes left to play, and a quarter that has really moved along. Hufnagel delivers at the last moment, and what a job by Harold Woods to knock the ball down just as Chris DeFrance thought that he was going to have another reception. So we're still scoreless, Hamilton and Saskatchewan, and we'll be back in just a moment. The Saskatchewan drive has stalled, so Paul Watson comes out, and his field goal try will come from about 40 yards away.
That wind looks brisk right now.
It is wide. David Shaw running around back there now concedes the single point. And I think the last time I gave the score, I mentioned that it was scoreless. It is not. It is now tied at 1, having forgotten Bernie Ruoff's wide field goal attempt. It is now tied at 1 as we go to Bill Stevenson.
I've got Bernie Ruoff with me. Bernie, this wind must be making it a bit of a nightmare for the kickers.
It's pretty tough, like Paul just missed one like I did before. The wind's coming across the field, but if you get it up high, there seems to be a swirling effect. And if you don't get a good spiral or anything along those lines, you're going to be in a lot of trouble today when you're kicking. A lot of trouble.
You need a meteorologist.
Pretty well. Yeah, pretty well.
Thank you, Bernie Ruoff.
Hamilton starts from their 35-yard line. Smart play by Clements. He saw that the wide receiver was covered. He was trying to set up that flanker screen, and because it was covered, he pulled it back down and scooped to about the 41-yard line.
A little bit of razzle-dazzle, Pat. They had both their backs, Crawford and Braggignolo, come off to the left, which is usually the sign that Clements will roll to that side, and then he went to turn to the backside to screen to Baker, but Saskatchewan played it too well.
They spot the ball right at the 40, so it's a gain of 5. It is 2nd and 5, Hamilton, looking for their first down of the ball game, and they will not get it. because in there was number 66, Mike Samples, to haul down Tom Clements inside his 35-yard line. And again, the Ticats will be punting.
Mr. Hustle, Mike Samples. Their defense has been one of the leaders with quarterback sacks. Mike Samples has had 4. He ranks well behind Lyle Wozniacki with 11 and Vince Goldsmith with 13. But a great job.
So it's Stuart Fraser, 11, and Joey Walters, number 17, back to return this punt from Bernie Ruoff. He booted it 51 yards the first time he kicked it. This is another good one. Fraser at his 18-yard line. And he gets out over the 30 to about the 33. Ben Zambiazzi was first down under 32. A 58-yard boot by Bernie Ruoff with the wind at his back and a 15-yard return.
First down, Saskatchewan from their own 34-yard line.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Michael, that Saskatchewan has done a tremendous job in controlling the ball in this first quarter.
The pair of receivers for the Hamilton Tiger Cats that means so much in their offense. Steve Stapler, Keith Baker, sitting on the bench together, trying to get their thoughts directed towards some good offensive game plan, because thus far they really haven't been able to put it together.
And yet on the other side, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have. John Huffnagel's had a good first quarter. And though we're tied at 1, that certainly is not indicative of the play, because Saskatchewan has started virtually every series in poor field position. And this is Greg Fieger with his first carry of the day. John Priestner was there, the middle linebacker, number 36. And so too was Steve Parker, playing at the defensive end spot today in place of the injured James Ramey.
I'll tell you, Parker did a very nice job. Joey Walters cut him right down early, but Parker bounced right back up, hustled back into the play, and was able to assist in that stop.
The gain was about 4 yards, make it 2nd and 6, Saskatchewan, with just 13 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. Mix-up as Fieger takes the handoff and gets very close to first down territory. Now the placement of the ball will be all important with 1 second showing on the clock. And they would just as soon, I would think, have had that second tick off, because they would have been able to punt with the wind. Now will they go for it? No, they're going to be punting.
Be a pretty big gamble at that point in the field. John Priestner had blitzed from his middle linebacking spot. Greg Fieger really did a nice job of changing directions. He was coming up to that left side, veered off to the right. Priestner had been picked up in his blitz, and there was some running room, but Hamilton closes down pretty quickly.
So 3rd and a full yard, and Clark will be punting. Oh, he gets a beauty away. This is a great punt into that wind. Stapler takes it at his 22. And has nowhere to go. Down very quickly for the Saskatchewan Roughriders was Bob Poley, number 57. As the quarter comes to an end and we're all tied at 1, we'll return with the second quarter in a moment. Well, we're back and ready for some action here. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have not been able to move the ball. As a matter of fact, their total offense in the first quarter was 1 yard. Now they take over at their 25-yard line. First down, Hamilton. Clements with a screen to Mark Bragagnola. He's cut down. The ball comes loose. Recovered by Steve Dennis, and let's change that to Andre Jones, who takes the fumble in for the touchdown for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
But the man who hit is number 37, Frank Robinson. Watch him react to this play and cut Bragagnola down right there. You saw the arm go way behind him, and then as it came flying over, he lost control of the ball. Andre Jones, 28, is in there for the big turnaround, and Saskatchewan takes the lead. Here it is again, a screen to Bragagnola on the right. Read extremely well by Frank Robinson. Great anticipation, a fine hit, and alert defense there by Jones.
Andre Jones from the University of Nevada at Las Vegas picks up the touchdown for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who can go ahead 8-1 if Paul Watson is successful on his convert attempt. And he is. Well, how about that turnaround? The Saskatchewan Roughriders really crumbled in the opening half last week against these Hamilton Ticats, but if they come up tough defensively and they've moved the ball out of their own territory on offense, and really that's been the story of the game to this point.
In many ways, Pat, it's just a reversal of last week, really, in the way in which Saskatchewan has dominated the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 1 yard in the first quarter of play. That's incredible. It's been all Saskatchewan Roughriders, and now that aggressive defense of theirs coming up with that big play.
Listening to head coach Joe Ferragelli, he was just telling the offensive unit, he said, all right, now I want to go for it. I want you to loosen up, and I want to see you going for more of the passes. So I think we can look for much more offensive action. It won't be nearly as staid, maybe, as it was in the first quarter, because they intend to take advantage of that win now, Pat and Mike.
Thank you, Bill. Paul Watson tees it up at his 45-yard line. Howard Fields, number 16, and Steve Stapler, number 3, await as the crowd sits here in the high 50s. That's the temperature at Iverwin Stadium. They're not too pleased at the way things have gone so far for their beloved Ticats.
I think they're also sitting in somewhat anticipation of that offense beginning to do something. They're the second highest scoring offense in Canada. They expect them to be able to do something. Tommy Clements has been the engineer who's directed it all. But thus far, he's had some problems hitting his receivers. Receivers have not been able to hold on to some of his passes.
Watson's kickoff goes deep in the end zone. Fields is 10 yards deep in there right now, and he will give up the single point to give Saskatchewan a 9-1 lead. And before this game is over, that could be an extremely important point. Well, Fields, I do think, though, Mike did the proper thing. I mean, why come out to your 10-yard line?
Particularly when you're working against this wind, field position becomes so critical to give up 1 point under those circumstances, and particularly when your offense has been bogged down. I think he made the right election.
Clemens throws quickly for DiPietro. It is picked off by Jones again. Andre Jones, who scored the touchdown moments ago, has the ball in Hamilton territory. And finally, Keith Baker rides him down to the turf at the Hamilton 52-yard line. And something we have not heard at Iverwin Stadium this year, the Boo Birds are booing that Hamilton offense.
Well, no faulting Tommy Clements on this. He delivered the ball very well to DiPietro. It was the receiver's fault. He didn't hold on to what was a good play. But Andre Jones, you think he might be in the running for the Panasonic play of the game? Let me tell you, back-to-back turnovers. This man was Johnny on the spot. And what an effort he made to try to return it.
To do it.
Well, tell me, Jonesy, on that second interception first now, were you looking for that?
Well, he did a little curl. He was in the zone that time, and I just happened to come up in the right position, at the right time. I saw it pop in the air, just like tip drill,
Well, on the first one now, the touchdown, it was just like picking apples off the tree. There it was bouncing to you.
Yeah. Our linebacker came up with a pretty good stick there. And I was coming up. The ball just hit the ground. I just picked it up and went for it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a happy man, Pat, Andre Jones.
Well, let's see if Saskatchewan can make use of that interception. The ball went right through Joey Walter's hands and was very nearly picked off by Preston Young. But again, Huffnagel delivered the ball well. Joey went up but couldn't grab it.
Joey wasn't too happy with himself. He kicked the ground. He feels a little upset. He knows that if Saskatchewan's going to win and stay on top of this game, he can't drop those footballs.
As you mentioned before, Joey came into the ball game with 69 receptions. Henry was. Chuck seems to be all right, up on the sidelines now. The offensive center of the Hamilton Ticats. Huffnagel on 2nd and 10 delivers, and Walters had that one broken up by Harold Woods, number 6.
Harold Woods has had an outstanding first half. We saw him earlier when Saskatchewan was threatening in the first quarter, getting deep into Hamilton territory. He came up with a big play on 2nd down. And here once again, Joey Walters trying to work to the inside, and that's what they've been doing throughout the course of this first half. But this time Woods came in front again and is forcing Saskatchewan to punt the ball away.
13:15 left to play in the first half. It is Saskatchewan 9, Hamilton 1. Stapler and Fields deep around the Hamilton goal area, waiting this punt from Ken Clark. He puts it high. It bounces at the 10 and bounces back towards the Ticats. Picked up now by Howard Fields, and he breaks out of there and gets to the 36-yard line. Well, he had Saskatchewan backing up, so he took it on the dead run. And the Ticats will take over at their 36, trailing 9-1. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders were hoping to pin Hamilton deep, but Kenny Clark only managed a 33-yard punt, and then Howard Fields returned at 18 yards, so the Ticats get a break and come out of there from their 35-yard line. They trail 9-1. Clemens fires. Keith Baker makes the first reception of the afternoon for him at the 44-yard line, and he'll be about a yard and a half short of the first down as Billy McBride was there to hit him instantly.
Although Hamilton has had a woeful offense to this point in terms of production, they have had some open receivers. We mentioned it before. On occasion, Clemens has misfired, and on others, his receivers have failed to hold on to the ball, but they have been able to get into the open. They just haven't been able to put it all together.
Second and a yard and a half to go for the Ticats inside their 45-yard line. Give us to Rufus Crawford, and I'll tell you, it'll be very close.
I think that may have been Frank Robinson again that just stopped him dead in his tracks.
Robinson made the tackle.
Great linebacking play.
But Crawford was able to pick up the necessary yardage, and the Ticats get their first down of the ball game. Believe it or not, Hamilton, coming into this series of plays, had a net offense of -1 yard, but now they have a first down with the ball just outside their 46-yard line. A holding penalty will be assessed against the Ticats, no doubt about it, as Clemens went down at his 35, and the Riders obviously will decline the penalty. Doug McIver and Tom Schultz were there to put the pressure on the Hamilton quarterback.
Well, they had their backs go to the left. That's where Clemens started to roll. We'll get the call now from Lauren Woods. Fine. 22, Mark Bragignolo is guilty of the holding. He'd gone off to that left side. Tom Schultz was the backside linebacker. He was freed up, and he just came right away and was right on Clemens.
So they decline the penalty and force Hamilton into a second down from their 36-yard line. So it's 2nd and 20. Goldsmith just missed the Hamilton Ticats quarterback, and then DiPietro couldn't pull down what really was an errant throw. DiPietro was wide open. He tried to one-hand it, but couldn't do so.
Lyle Woznezensky once again did a good job of getting early pressure on Clemens. Clemens then running out of the pocket. You'll see him right there. There's Woznezensky. Now he's running. He's not well balanced and set. And on the throw, he overshoots the receiver. Well open on the play.
So Joey Walters and Stuart Fraser drop back to their 30-yard line. We'll wait this punt on 3rd and 20 from Bernie Ruoff. It hangs up there. Fraser at his 39-yard line. Gets to the 45. And that's where the Riders will take over with 10 minutes and 42 seconds left to play in the first half. Saskatchewan has completely dominated play, both offensively and defensively. They lead at 9-1. And the trivia question for today, what quarterback holds the most passing yards in the CFL, single season and single game?
Boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of names that you'd want to think about before you answer that question.
Just outside their 45, the Riders start. Hofnagel puts it up over the head of Greg Feger.
Hofnagel's pass goes incomplete.
And don't be critical of the quarterbacks here this afternoon, because the wind really does swirl at Ivor Wynne Stadium, and it's blowing very strongly here this afternoon, so you know that it's a difficult chore for them.
Alan Moffat, number 56, in at right guard this afternoon in place of John Blake. The two of them actually getting a little work, but Moffat so far has played most of that spot this afternoon.
Dwight Edwards is flanked to the top of your screen. Emmanuel Tolbert to the bottom. Hufnagel throws. A flag comes down as Krista France makes the catch at about the 53-yard line. Let's see what the flag's about. It may well be interference.
We'll get the call now, though, from referee Lauren Woods.
Ineligible receiver, Saskatchewan 74.
That's the call.
So they spot the ball inside the Saskatchewan 35-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 20.
He must have failed to stay off the line of scrimmage, Pat, and crept up a little too close, got inside of Edwards, and became ineligible.
They were going to penalize them 11 yards. Now they've moved the ball outside the 35. Lester Brown is nailed by Grover Covington. Another 6 or 7 yards deep. Covington read that drop perfectly. The moment that Brown got the ball, Covington was all over him.
What an afternoon for Grover Covington.
From Johnson C. Smith University, number 66, watch him.
We've mentioned that they've tried to go to that left side most often to stay away from Zambiazzi, but Grover Covington is showing that, listen, fellas, you're not going to have any more luck here because he shut them right down.
Well, the Ticats send only Steve Stapler back. Are they going to go after this punt? Here they come. Ooh, they very nearly got it, too. Stapler takes it at his 34. Stapler with a good return as flags fly all over the field. Stapler got out over the 45. Let's wait for referee Lauren Woods to give us the call. Bob Poley was down to make the tackle.
Clip. Hamilton 31.
Well, Ben Zambiazzi is nailed for clipping, so the Ticats will be starting inside their 30-yard line at the 28. You know, we've mentioned Bob Poley's name twice coming downfield so quickly, and you look at the interior of that Saskatchewan offensive line. You got Poley from the Regina Rams, Roger Aldag from the Regina Rams, Brian Hillebrand from the Regina Rams.
And you know something, Pat? Their offensive line has allowed the fewest sacks in all of the Canadian Football League. So credit to those fellas.
First down, Hamilton at their 28-yard line. Rufus Crawford trying to get outside. Forget it. Robinson was there. And so too was Vince Goldsmith, number 78.
Goldsmith made the tackle.
There are Tiger Cat emblems and stuffed Tiger Cats and Tiger Cat fans throughout this park this afternoon. They haven't seen too much of their offense, though. Their defense has been tough and held them in. But so far, their offense has not been able to get underway.
The gain was 4 yards. It is 2nd and 6. Clemens throws, knockdown. Good defensive play by Bobby Jose, number 35.
Ball seemed to be held up a little bit. Not too much strength on the pass. Jose did an excellent job coming in front of Lee Pedersen. Here's another look at it now. Pedersen trying to work from the inside out against the inside safety. He was almost in a position to pick it off and go, and wouldn't they have loved in Hamilton to see Jose return one for a big gain?
Clements has completed only 1 of 8 passes. He's had 1 intercepted. As Saskatchewan has really shut down that Hamilton offense so far in this first half. Bernie Ruoff is going to take off. And Ruoff gets the first down. A very alert play by Bernie Ruoff, who noticed Saskatchewan dropping back. He gets the first down. It is Saskatchewan 9, Hamilton 1, and we'll be back in just a moment. Great play by Bernie Ruoff, an alert one, Mike.
Boy, I'll tell you, watch him belly back, though. I thought he was going to lose it. Took a big gamble here, all the way back in there, outruns Bobby Jose, and then just gets up and has about 2.5 yards to spare.
So it is first down, Hamilton. The ball at their 42-yard line. Let's see if that picks the Ticats up. They have been listless so far, thanks primarily to that outstanding Saskatchewan defense. Rufus Crawford. And Crawford runs into Vince Goldsmith, among others. Robinson was there, too.
Goldsmith made the tackle.
And he got to, well, let's see where they spot the ball, just inside the 45, so Crawford gains just a couple of yards.
How would you like to try to pick your way through this green and white wall? There just didn't seem to be anything there. Good block at the point of attack, but then just a wall of Saskatchewan defenders. Their defense is really pumped up. They're trying to avenge what happened to them in that first half last week.
Clemens throws quickly. It is complete. Dave Graffy. And Graffy is all the way down to the Saskatchewan 31-yard line. Kenny McEachran made the tackle, but the gain is 35 yards. Clemens to Graffy, and he did a magnificent job.
Well set up. He just slid out from his running back position, made a good cut right there, got away from number 20, Ken McEachran, who overran it a bit, and worked up that sideline.
Unsportsmanlike conduct penalty assessed against Hamilton. They will retain possession of the ball and will have a first down. Ball is spotted now at the 41-yard line, and now they're bringing it all the way back.
Frank Bush has some words to say at the sideline. That's the second flag, and that's what they're marching off now. I think what he was upset about is the fact that Jeffy was face masked and roughed on the sideline. The official was there and chose not to do anything about it. Ken McEachran is the one who had come in, grabbed the face mask and roughed him. Frank Cush was irate because it happened right in front of him. He let loose with a torrent at the official, something Cush normally doesn't do because he's a highly controlled coach. But in this particular occasion, it cost the Tiger Cats.
Well, it cost them big yardage because now they start at the Hamilton 51 instead of the 31. Mark Bragagnola. And let me correct that. Graffy is in there now in place of Bragagnola, and Graffy was the ball carrier. Schultz and Robinson were in to make the stop.
Well, they had great success with Graffy earlier. They're coming back to him. They want to get a little power running in there, throw off that Saskatchewan defense, which has been coming extremely strongly with that pass rush.
Gain was 7. It is 2nd and 3. The toss goes to Rufus Crawford. And Crawford gave up the ball. It was recovered by Bobby Jose, but they rule that he was dead inside the 40-yard line.
I'll tell you, I didn't hear the whistle go until after Saskatchewan got it, so it may be their ball.
Well, it is their ball now, but why didn't they allow them to return it?
I don't understand that either, but the whistle had not gone.
Listen to the crowd.
Here's a look at it. Crawford, number 24, hit. When he hit the ground, he lost control in much the same way Hufnagel did earlier, only this one's a fumble, the other wasn't.
Joey Walters makes a diving catch at the Hamilton 51-yard line, covered there by David Shaw and Harold Woods. But it's a big first down for Saskatchewan on the completion from Hufnagel to Walters. 20 yards the gain. Here comes the crowd again. They're still irate over the fumble decision. Hufnagel just unloaded. There was great pressure from Steve Parker, and rather than take the loss, Hufnagel just unloaded.
And let me tell you, Pat, these referees are human beings. You think this kind of reaction by the crowd doesn't put a lot of pressure on them? It is really tough to be out there, have to maintain your cool and keep a balance in this game. You've got the competing interests with both clubs, and you've got 30-some thousand people just howling down your back at every move. It's an unenviable position to be in.
Second and 10, Saskatchewan from the Hamilton 51. Huffnagel in trouble, floats it up there, hoping that Emmanuel Tolbert could run underneath it, but it was beyond him. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Bobby Hosea. Bobby, how about that fumble recovery? Tell us how it came about.
Well, I sweep to my side, and I just came in and took out Rufus, and he fumbled the ball. And the reason I stayed on it, I didn't know if it was a real fumble or not. I just wanted to be on the ball, and luckily they gave it to us.
I know that the fans are up here, but do you find anything different on the field?
No, everybody's fine. What happened last week was forgotten, I hope, and everybody's playing fine. Gordy and I talked, so everything's fine.
Great, Bobby. We're pleased to hear that. Good football game.
Thank you.
So Ken Clark drops back to the Saskatchewan 45 to punt on 3rd and 10. Steve Stapler awaits at his goal line. And Stapler's really jarred at the 15.
Frank Robinson, once again, I'll tell you, he has been a heavy hitter for the Rough Riders tonight. Frank Robinson, number 37. Watch him unload on number 3, Steve Stapler. Right there.
Stapler's return was good for 15 yards, but the Ticats start in the hole once again with 3 minutes, 40 seconds left to play in a first half that has been completely dominated by Saskatchewan. They lead it 9-1. Keith Baker makes the reception and is down by Andre Jones. But Baker appears to have the first down at the 28-yard line.
Well, we've seen this same combination earlier to Baker, just curling to the inside. Rocky DiPietro goes outside, Baker curls to the inside, putting some pressure on the secondary. They've had open receivers, they just haven't put it together.
DiPietro makes the reception and should have another first down. So with 2:50 left to play in the first half, Saskatchewan leads Hamilton 9-1, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, here's the situation. 2 minutes, 50 seconds left to play in the first half. Saskatchewan 9, Hamilton 1. The Ticats have completed their last 3 passes in a row. Clements is now 4 out of 11 for 68 yards. Hamilton with possession at their own 39-yard line. Clements unloaded at the last moment to Henry Waschuk. I don't know how he figures Henry is going to be an eligible receiver, but Clements is down back at his 29-yard line.
Henry's probably trying to get the Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Star selection as the offensive player of the game.
Tommy was going down, no question about it. It was a quarterback sack, and he saw a black and yellow jersey, so he just threw it to Waschuk.
I'll tell you, talk about those selections. Mike Samples, Frank Robinson.
Hamilton, number 50.
Ineligible receiver, no question about that. Tom Schultz, all those people have been so prominent in this outstanding defensive display that Saskatchewan's put up.
Come on, truck the penalty now.
Why is the ball at the 35-yard line? Because he was sacked inside his 30. The ball should be back inside the 30-yard line where Clements was sacked. They declined the penalty.
It was Hamilton, the flank is down already, ain't jerk.
Well, Joe Faragelli's certainly upset at the sideline and is pointing in every direction.
Come on, they're holding up the game.
They should have ruled, actually, that it was a quarterback sack because he was down. He simply unloaded to Henry Waschuk. Well, they're going to leave it there. It doesn't matter what I think. Joe's not too happy, and I think he's got a good case.
Yep. Never heard of a 4-yard penalty in any event.
It's 2nd and 14 right now. Clements puts it up, and Keith Baker couldn't get both hands on it.
Tell you, he's fortunate he got one because Ken McEachran had it all lined up to bring it back. But Baker got one hand and diverted its path.
Schultz had great pressure on the Hamilton quarterback, Tom Clements.
Isolation director Nick Volpe on Keith Baker again. He's the only man that Clements has had any success with, but that has been very limited.
By the way, the last time Ruoff was in here, and he ran, of course, for the first down, he said it was not a devised play. I just noticed them going back, and I did it completely on my own.
Well, that's what we assumed, because they did drop off completely.
Be surprised if it was called that way from the bench deep in his own end.
Yeah. But he doesn't get much of a punt this time into the wind, and it'll go out of bounds. Let's see where they spot it. At the Saskatchewan 52-yard line. So only a 24-yard punt. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, leading 9-1, will have an opportunity to get some more.
You know, we really have to credit the Hamilton offense too, Pat. I think there have been 3 turnovers by their offense, one of which resulted directly in a touchdown by Andre Jones. But despite the fact that Hamilton's been so ineffective, that the Saskatchewan defense has been very strong, the Saskatchewan offense has really only put 1 point on the board.
Lester Brown on the draw crosses midfield and gets into about the 53-yard line. Grover Covington was there once again, number 66. So his gain will be about 4 yards, make it 2nd and 6, with 1:55 and the clock running left to play in this first half.
Get a 5 on the play, 2nd down and 5.
The only touchdown, as Mike pointed out, by Andre Jones on a fumble recovery after Bragignola had coughed it up on the good hit by Frank Robinson. Huffnagel throws a lateral to Lester Brown, who recovers it, and they should have enough yardage for the first down.
Boy, I'll tell you, that's getting a little flamboyant.
Yeah, Zambiasi's trying to rule or claim that it was a forward pass, but it certainly was not.
No way.
It was
no more of a forward pass than the one earlier when Huffnagel turned and threw behind him.
I'll go develop the picture right now.
Definitely a lateral.
Absolutely, and it's a first down, Saskatchewan. The ball is at the 46-yard line of the Ticats with 1:29 left to play in this first half. Oh, would the Riders love to get another major score before this half comes to an end. And they're in a position to do something about it. Huffnagel throws. Joey Walters makes the catch and then steps out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Harold Woods on the coverage, along with David Shaw.
Woods went for the ball. We've seen him a number of times come in front of the receiver and make great defensive plays. He tried to do the same thing here. He seemed to be able to summon up a little speed and get a hand in there, but he missed the ball. Walters, with that great concentration, still was able to follow the flight of the ball and make the grab.
Well, Joey has 73 receptions on the year now. And that one bounced in front of the intended receiver. Emmanuel Talbert, number 19, with Gerald Best, the newcomer, at the corner for the Hamilton Ticats, number 14, on the coverage. So it's 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. The ball at the Hamilton 29-yard line. The clock is stopped with 1:18 left to play in this half. Huffnagel delivers over to Francis Head. David Shaw was looking for the interception, but it was too high. Carmelo Cartieri was there as well. And so Paul Watson comes into the ball game, and his field goal 6-yard line. He's tried one from 40 yards so far this afternoon. It was wide. It went for a single point. Clock will start on the snap of the ball. And it will be spotted down at the 36 for Paul Watson. And this time it is good. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders go out in front 12-1 with 1:07 left to play in the first half. Surprising, I think, Mike, because Hamilton has been so effective offensively all year.
Oh, there's no question about it. It's not surprising to me to see Saskatchewan coming up with a very strong defensive effort, because they've had some really outstanding plays from that defensive unit during the season. Offensively, I don't think they've done anything too unusual, Pat. They've run the ball well, but they've been able to be competitive with anybody. I think the thing that's most surprising is the fact that Hamilton has been so ineffective and has dropped as many as they have, and Clements has missed on as many as he has.
Ooh, what a jolt that Rufus Crawford took from Frank Robinson, but he managed to hang on to the ball at the 42-yard line, so he'll have a gain of 7.
They'll be in their hurry-up offense now.
With 1:02 left to play in the half, and time is now whistled in. Clements going deep for DiPietro. He's got it at the Saskatchewan 35 with Kenny McEachran making the saving tackle.
We mentioned earlier how many times they're running that combination pattern with DiPietro breaking out to the sideline, Baker curling inside. They changed it up, and that time DiPietro went down, hit the seam, got open, and they had the big play, and that's the one point about the Hamilton Tiger catch you must always be wary of. They can strike from anywhere.
They start from the Saskatchewan 35. The pass is complete to Baker, and he's ridden down by Billy McBride at about the 27-yard line. 45 seconds left to play. The ball is actually just outside the 25. So they're short by a couple of yards of that first down, and now the Ticats do huddle. It is 2nd and 2. They give to Rufus Crawford. Rufus appears to have the first down. The clock stops with 29 seconds left to play. They'll move the chains if, in fact, it is a first down, and it is signaled as so by referee Lauren Woods. The Ticats don't huddle this time. Now time is whistled in. Clements goes to the end zone for Baker, and Billy McBride tipped it away. Baker is furious. He wants an interference call on McBride. No flag comes down.
Well, I'd like to see it again. The fans are upset, but I'm not sure that Baker didn't interfere a bit with McBride. Let's just take a look. Nick Volpe has him on isolation. Well, there is definitely contact there by McBride. I don't know how vital it was to what happened to the play, but there was some contact.
22 seconds left to play in the first half. 12-1, Saskatchewan leading. They come on a full blitz. Clements has dropped, but flags are down, and the Riders may have been offside.
I think they anticipated a little bit, Pat. Carl Cornell and company coming on the blitz, trying to get that big pressure. I think they guessed. And we're wrong, but we'll get the call.
Well, it is offside against Saskatchewan.
15 seconds.
That'll bring the ball inside the Saskatchewan 20 to the 18-yard line, where it is 2nd and 5 from that point. Ticats still have their timeout remaining, of course. What's important to their cause right now is they need the first down if they don't get the touchdown.
Lauren Woods talking things over with the Riders. Hamilton awaiting. Time being blown in, but the clock does not run.
Because of the penalty call against Saskatchewan. That one was very nearly picked off. He was looking for Rocky DiPietro, but Andre Jones, who was the man of that first quarter, was there to break it up.
Boy, I'll tell you, that was a badly thrown football. It was right into the arms of Andre Jones, trying to get the little seam there. Number 54, Schultz, was really the man responsible. The linebacker working his way to the outside stopped DiPietro from breaking into where Clements expected it.
Leif Pedersen will spot the ball at the 26-yard line for Bernie Ruoff to try this field goal. And he is good. So with just 10 seconds left to play in the first half, the Hamilton Ticats narrow the Saskatchewan lead to 8 points. It is Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 4.
Pat, I think you have to say that the Hamilton Tiger Cats are fortunate to be down only 8 points. Their defense has played extremely well. The offense, apart from that one big play to DiPietro, really have been shut down by Saskatchewan. And with the number of turnovers the Saskatchewan defense came up with, you would have expected a little more production out of their offensive unit.
Well, they've got 10 seconds. Let's see if Huffnagel puts it up deep for somebody like Emmanuel Tolbert or Dwight Edwards. Now they're going to run it inside to Greg Feger, who crosses the 40 and gets to the 42-yard line. And the clock stops momentarily with 5 seconds left to play, and this will be the final play of the first half. Well, the Riders obviously content to take an 8-point lead to the dressing room.
Second down and 3.
They lead it 12-4, and this will be the final play of the first half, barring a penalty. Huffnagel throws it as far as he can, and it's broken up downfield. And that will be the final play of the first half. It ends after 30 minutes of play with the Saskatchewan Roughriders out in front of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, 12-4.
From a school principal to a university coach to a company president, from an all-Canadian all-star to the most outstanding player to a 3-time scoring champion, Carling O'Keefe Sports presents a look into yesterday in the Canadian Football League.
From 1952 through 1960, he played 166 consecutive games. He lived with the pass, became known as the Rifle, setting every passing record in the book during his time. In 1 year alone, he threw for close to 5,000 yards. Who is he? Sam Etcheverry, yesterday in the CFL. City of Montreal, the fans cheered loud and long for the brilliance of one man who made it all happen. He never ever had to use his last name. Sam the Rifle said it all. In 1952, P-Head Walker of the Alouettes saw Sam Etcheverry's picture in a magazine and invited him to a tryout. He made the team at a starting salary of $6,000. Sam Etcheverry passed his way to the Grey Cup finals from 1954 through 1956. He passed for over 25,000 yards during 7 years of recorded statistics. In 1954 alone, Sam threw for 4,723 yards, a record that still stands. In 1960, a surprise trade sent Etcheverry and Patterson to Hamilton for Filoni, but Sam had a no-trade clause and jumped to St. Louis in the NFL. Later, he returned to Montreal, and in 1970 coached the Alouettes to the Grey Cup championship. Today, Sam Etcheverry's in the investment business. We talked to him about the good times and the bad times. When you came here in 1952, did you have to fit your arm to their offense, or did they make an offense to fit your arm?
Well, I think my arm fit the offense because P had really loved to see the ball in the air, John, and start putting in more passing offense till 1953.
But I think P had really just about let you run the club out on the field, did he?
Well, P had liked it that way. He never had a playbook, and he used to make up the plays right on the field. And in all the years that I played for him for 8 years. He sent in one play in 8 years, so he loved to see the ball in the air, and if ever I tried to run the ball, have a little bit of a running attack, he would tell me to throw the ball.
So as a result of all that throwing, thus the name Sam the Rifle.
That's right. Well, Larry O'Brien's the one that put that name on me. Larry O'Brien was our publicity man back in 52 and 53 here.
And it's been Sam the Rifle ever since.
Right.
Well, after the bad start in 52 and 53, 54 turned out to be a significant year for you, winning the Shenley Award as the most outstanding player. You broke all kinds of records. And then came the moment where you lost that fateful Grey Cup to Edmonton. Does that still haunt you today?
Believe me, John, how many years has it been? 27?
Something like that.
Something like that. Every year at Grey Cup time, the news media here want to call and talk about the Hunsinger affair. And even when I was living away from Montreal, I used to hear from them.
After you left Montreal, and though it wasn't a pleasant departure, did you ever get a chance later to come back and play, and has that story ever been told?
I would have come back if Ted Workman hadn't made one statement, because I knew that I had to come back and prove a point, and he said, we'd like for you to come back and make the team. And when he made that statement, I said, that's it.
Eventually, you did come back, though, in 1970 with some measure of satisfaction, I would guess, because you won the Grey Cup as the coach of the Montreal Alouettes. Was it really as it seemed?
It wasn't the same as being a player, because after losing 3 Grey Cups and hearing all through all the years, it says, well, they used to win a lot of games, but they never won the big one. You know, that was always something that I had to contend with, and but it was a sort of satisfaction, John, but those 3 years with the Alouettes were the worst 3 years I ever spent in football. And I've never regretted anything I've ever done in my life except coaching.
The way it was to the way it is today. Yesterday in the CFL.
Both lopsided decisions. Montreal at Calgary. For the Montreal Alouettes, it's a big opportunity. Vince Ferragamo, third. A foot to go. But Ferragamo cannot take the hand out. It squeezes by him. The ball is recovered by the Calgary Stampeders, and that sets up their first touchdown, a 16-yard romp by James Sykes. Look at Sykes. He makes it just a little bit too casual here as he goes over the goal line. And the ball pops out of his hand. But fortunately, he was in the end zone. Calgary leads 7-0. The specialty teams were big for the Stampeders. The biggest play of them all, though, was Ingram. A 47-yard return on this play. He goes to the Alouette 37-yard line with a great run. The Stamps are stalled, and they kick a field goal and lead 10-0 over the Montreal Alouettes. And then Montreal gets a little bit of it back. A fumble by James Sykes. Hampton, number 62, well away from the ball, has time, however, and alertly gets in on top of it. They stall and wind up with a field goal. It's 10-3 at the end of the quarter. And now Bruce Threadgill to John Holland, the big receiver. Early in the third quarter, putting it away 23-3. They win 29-3. Dieter Brock, the story again, as he finds Rick House in Winnipeg's game against Toronto in Winnipeg. It's on the Argo 10. It sets up the first touchdown. Brock right back to House, the same receiver, and it's 7-0 for Winnipeg. On a play-action pass here, Brock with one of the fine passes that you will see in this game. Eugene Goodlow taking it on the 2-yard line. That's why Brock is one of the great passers in professional football today. Dan Minucci replaces the injured Holloway, and from the 40-yard line, he finds Martin Cox, and the biggest play for the Argos for the touchdown. It's 21-12 for Winnipeg. He tries to go back to Cox again, but this Minucci pass is picked off by Williams, and Williams just simply goes all alone into the end zone, nobody in front of him. But without question, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in their major victory and a very important one yesterday, the story was field goal kicker Trevor Kennard. This is 49 yards, but right through the uprights. His 7th field goal, it ties the CFL record. Kennard is mobbed by his teammates. The CFL on CTV continues with halftime in a moment.
As the score is Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 4 might indicated, the defenses really have dominated in the first half of this game, and they've provided all the excitement and the big plays. Early in the first quarter, John Hufnagel showed a little more superiority offensively than Clemens did with Hamilton, but time and again he was faced with big pressure and had to throw short. He worked primarily to the inside, this time to Chris DeFrance, but they were never really able to get any kind of a sustained drive going. The only touchdown scored in the first half was scored by the Saskatchewan defense. Here, big pressure on Clemens. He unloads to Braggignolo. A great hit by Frank Robinson. Bragignolo's arm kind of whiplashed the ball loose. Andre Jones picked it up, and he went 17, 18 yards into the end zone. Saskatchewan had an early lead. Later on, Clemens is going to Rocky DiPietro, a tip ball, and once again, Saskatchewan comes up with a turnaround. But despite this big play by Andre Jones again, Hufnagel was not able to get anything going offensively. Hamilton's defense came up, was able to keep them under control, and the game was still very much in contention between the two clubs. One of the reasons is the consistent pressure that Grover Covington, number 66, has been able to put on Covington when he's gone to the air. Also, they have shut down Saskatchewan from any kind of a ground game, as Covington did on that particular play. Quarter with less than 2 minutes to go. Finally, Tom Clements was able to hook up for a big play, this time to Rocky DiPietro, 33 yards, brought it deep into Saskatchewan end, but then the Saskatchewan defense was able to hold him to a field goal, and thus the score. Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 4. This is the CFL on CTV. We'll have second half action in a moment.
Atlanta football coming up. Later today, of course, an important game. Ottawa Roughriders are playing at Edmonton. It's important to the Ottawa Roughriders. And next Saturday, we have Montreal at Toronto. That's the big game that could decide the final playoff spot in the East. Winnipeg is playing in BC. That is the West Regional, and that'll be on the Western Television, Winnipeg at BC. Sunday, we have Calgary at Ottawa, and then Edmonton at Saskatchewan. By the way, for this second half, I just talked to Joe Farragelli, and he says he's switching quarterbacks as usual. It'll be Joe Barnes at quarterback for the second half. Now let's go to Pat and Mike.
Well, thank you, Bill. And the situation quite simply is this. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are trying to move into a three-way tie for second spot with BC and Winnipeg. An all-important contest for the Riders, who will be kicking off in this second half. They lead the ball game 12-4 as Fields and Stapler await at their 10-yard line. Watson kicking into the wind. And he squibs it down along the ground. DiPietro picks it up at his 32 and is cut down immediately. The ball comes loose, but the Ticats have recovered.
You know, the Ticats may not have the same degree of motivation because Saskatchewan has, because they have locked up first place in the Eastern Division, but they're not playing that way. Playing hard. Their offense just isn't gelling. We talked about the type of errors they've had. You see the stats. Really, both offenses have had trouble putting things together, but don't think that Hamilton's laying back on this one because their defense has been extremely strong.
They start from their 38-yard line, and the give to Rufus Crawford gets to the line of scrimmage, maybe not much more. Lyle Wozniacki 76 and Mike Samples 66 there to bring him down. So make it 2nd and 10 for the Ticats from their 38.5-yard line.
I wouldn't think a Frank Cush team would know the expression, take it easy, we've got it locked up. I think he makes them feel that, look, if you're going to be excellent, you have to be excellent throughout. You can't let down now or you'll find yourselves let out of the playoffs.
Clemens throws. Oh, what a catch by Baker. Oh, he went high in the air to spear that at the Saskatchewan 54-yard line. Billy McBride was with him, but Baker went high in the air to grab it.
I'll tell you, it could be bad news for Saskatchewan. In the first half, these kind of catches were not being made. The ball was being dropped, and Hamilton went nowhere. Early in the third quarter, a circus catch by Baker, and they're on the move.
First down, Hamilton. And Clemens is forced out as he gets to about the 50-yard line. He'll have a gain of close to 4 yards. Tom Schultz forced him out at that point. Good penetration by Saskatchewan the moment that Clemens dropped back, so he had to roll out of there. And then he decided to try and salvage whatever he could. Baker has caught 4 passes this afternoon for a total of 47. Coming into the ball game, he had 53 receptions. 2nd and 6, Ticats. Clemens throws, and Stapler makes the catch down at the 26-yard line of Saskatchewan. Steve Dennis on the defensive coverage for the Riders, but another important first down.
Hamilton has worked almost exclusively to the sidelines when they've gone to the air and gone deep, but this time they had their wide receiver, Steve Stapler, come back into that zone and just work through the seam, getting open, working against Steve Dennis.
25 yards the game. First down, Ticats at the Saskatchewan 25-yard line. Clements going to the end zone for Baker. Touchdown! Keith Baker with his 10th touchdown reception of the season.
A deep post pattern. You saw Clements look to the left, and he came right back to Baker. I don't think there was ever too much doubt in his mind where it was he wanted to go. He had Baker isolated on McBride. Baker just outran him and had him by about a step and a half, and a perfectly thrown ball by Tommy Clements.
Pass of the year. He is one back of Winnipeg's great Dieter Brock. The point after is good. Well, the kind of a ball game that we anticipated. Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 11, and we'll be back in just a moment. And the chin straps. We're in for a battle now. It is 12-11, Saskatchewan leading, and two guys who can really fly, Dwight Edwards and Emmanuel Tolbert, await the kickoff from Bernie Ruoff. They stand at their 5-yard line. There's the touchdown march, and it didn't take them long. Edwards takes it 5 yards deep and then steps out of bounds, and it's a tied ball game. Bernie Ruoff gets the single point. And we're all tied up at 12.
Well, that's the point back, Pat, that you mentioned could be so important when we saw Paul Watson do the same thing for the Roughriders in that first half of play. The kind of thing, though, that mentally is upsetting to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a team that was doing so many things well. They didn't capitalize on all the opportunities given to them, but they had that first half pretty well under control, and now early in the third quarter, they've been set back a bit.
Joe Barnes at quarterback, the handoff to Lester Brown, and Brown gets a tough 5 yards as he gets to the 40-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 5, Saskatchewan. Carmelo Cartieri, number 47, and Ecomet Burley, 74, make the tackle for Hamilton. And I'd like to remind everybody that this program is copyright and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the express written consent of the CTV Television Network and the Canadian Football League is strictly prohibited. 2nd and 5 for Joe Barnes. Fires into the flat. The catch is made by Tolbert for the first down for the Riders, who move out to their own 51-yard line. Gerald Best makes the tackle as we go to Bill Stevenson.
Keith Baker, the man who made a number of big catches, including the big one for the touchdown. Keith, tell us about it. What kind of a play it was?
Well, I was backside of a particular given call in the huddle, which was a post route. Tom gave me the initial go to the fact that he was going to lay it over the Rover's head and to run for it, and he did just that, so I had to go get it.
And it was there.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Baker.
1st and 10, Saskatchewan. DeFrance makes a very difficult catch, hangs on. He's forced back to around midfield, but he made the catch up around the Hamilton 52-yard line. Harold Woods stuck him there along with Carmelo Cartieri.
Riders continuing to use their short game, just hooking in front of the interior of that secondary. Harold Woods so many times has come up with big plays. All of it tough yardage, though, and Hamilton making them pay for it.
Gain was 5. It is 2nd and 5 with the ball inside the Hamilton 54-yard line. And here comes the blitz. Barnes unloads to Greg Feger. And Feger is really upended by Howard Fields as he gets to the 50-yard line. But Preston Young was coming on the safety blitz, and he very nearly got to Joe Barnes, who did an excellent job to unload that ball to Feger.
Well, he saw Young coming and knew he had to get rid of it right away, and he didn't any too early, I'll tell you, because Young came through without anybody even touching him. Great play there by Fields. A good job by Feger to hold on, because he was really upset.
However, the Riders are still a yard and a half short of the first down, so they'll be punting. Stapler and Fields drop back. We've played just about 5 minutes of this third quarter, and we're all tied up at 12. It was 12-4 at the half. End-over-end kick by Ken Clark bounces to Stapler at his 10. And he has nowhere to go as he got maybe to the 13 or 14-yard line. Good coverage, though.
Well, I'll tell you, the Riders don't seem mesmerized by that 8-point explosion by Hamilton. They came back, moved the ball, did a good job, and now they've got Hamilton in pretty tough field position. Their defense can continue to come on. They'll still have this game very much in contention.
And that was very much the story of that first half, where Hamilton was getting the ball in bad field position, and the Rider defense was doing a number on them. From the 13-yard line, it is first down Hamilton. Rufus Crawford. And Crawford got his legs tangled and falls down just as he crosses the line of scrimmage. He may have a gain of about a yard, covered there by Frank Robinson.
Gentlemen, I'd like to tell you about some great college ball we've got coming up. You know, the ball across the country has just been sensational in the CIAU, and next weekend there are 10 games, including St. Mary's at Acadia, Concordia at Bishops, and Carleton at Queens. Just 3 of the 10 scheduled, all starting at 2 o'clock Saturday, October the 17th. That's next Saturday.
2nd and 9. Hamilton. Clements in a lot of trouble, but he rolls out of there. And now going for Leif Pettersson. He makes the catch. Pettersson and Bobby Jose became entangled. Jose is furious. He feels that Pettersson interfered with him.
There's no doubt
Leif came back to the ball.
No question that he did. Doug McIver takes a shallow route right here, gets caught. Clements rolls to the outside. But watch Leif Pettersson. He'll push off right there. He pushed off on Jose, was in a position to get the ball, which was really underthrown.
48 yards the gain on the completion to Leif Pettersson that they'll be talking about for some time. First down, Hamilton at the Saskatchewan 48. Clements throws. DiPietro makes the catch and is upended immediately by Andre Jones at the 40-yard line, but he'll have a gain of about 8. And when Tommy Clements gets hot, boy, the pressure really does revert to the Saskatchewan defense.
Picking up an auxiliary receiver here. I think he was looking upfield because they've had success in this third quarter going deep. But DiPietro got him out of a little trouble as Saskatchewan was starting to put the pressure on.
You remember when Clements was 1 for 8? Now he's 12 for 22. Rufus Crawford. And Crawford gets to the 30-yard line for another first down, pinned as he tripped himself up by Steve Dennis.
A good, crisp play off to the left side. They needed 2 yards. They had all their people there. Crawford shows good acceleration. Steve Stapler will actually trip him up a little bit there, but Steve Dennis had that outside pretty well shut off.
It is first down, Hamilton. The ball at the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. We're all tied at 12. Clements going to the end zone for Stapler, and he doesn't hang on. He was in behind Bobby Jose. The ball was there, but Stapler didn't hang on to it. Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 12, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, we're back at Ivor Wynne Stadium, and you saw that Steve Stapler had the ball in his hands, couldn't hang on, so it brings up a 2nd and 10 for the Ticats from the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. Clemens throws, and Andre Jones makes another interception for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. His 2nd of the ball game and his 3rd turnover.
What a game he has had. Andre Jones, one of the most opportunistic defenders on the field. Carl Cornell was in there with the heat. Frank Robinson was the secondary man in there. Clements on the run, throws the ball in great peril, and Andre Jones is the one who picks it off.
And so the Riders bite the bullet on that one and come up with possession at their own 29-yard line with a first down. Lester Brown on the draw. Daylight for Lester, who gets a big first down. Out to the 45-yard line, a gain of 16 yards. Harold Woods and Howard Fields.
When they've run the ball, they've tried to go off that left side away from Zambiazzi. They haven't had success. They always met Grover Covington. This time, Brown will just run up the middle. Working against John Priestner. Priestner was picked up, and Brown had some success.
First down, Riders at their 45-yard line. The pass intended for Chris DeFrance was knocked down by Carmelo Cartieri, the ex-Saskatchewan Rider, on a good play.
I think he just deflected it enough that Chris DeFrance lost the flight of the ball.
Has been good on 3 of 4 since replacing John Huffnagel here in the second half. Huffnagel went the distance in the first 30 minutes, and Barnes has control now. 3 for 4 for 20 yards. He needs a completion right now to keep this drive going. 2nd and 10. Gives to Lester Brown, but Brown is wrapped up by the middle linebacker, John Priestner, who just flew through there and nailed the Saskatchewan running back at his 39-yard line for a loss of 6.
Well, it's been tough defense on both sides. Priestner read the draw. I think it was a predetermined blitz as well. The whole area opened up, and he came through unmolested.
John Priestner, who went straight to the National Football League from the University of Western Ontario and then came back to Hamilton last year. On 3rd and 16, Kenny Clark is punting. Good punt into this win. This is Stapler at his 34. Well, he did a lot of running and then finally ends up back at the point where he caught the ball. Dropped on a good downfield tackle by number 32 of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, John McCorkindale. So Hamilton
starts.
Mount
Allison, Pat, is celebrating 25 years of football, and Wally Sears is going to announce an all-star team for the years 1956 to 1981. That's at Mount Allison. All varsity and junior varsity teams are invited to this reunion on October 16th and 17th at MTA, and they'll do special honor to the team of 1956.
Keith Baker makes the reception and steps out of bounds immediately up around the 42-yard line, which will leave him a couple of yards short of the first down.
Well, after Baker beat McBride in that post pattern for the touchdown, McBride's going to give him a little bit more room. In that first half, Saskatchewan was playing up pretty tough as they were using their linebackers to blitz and put pressure on Clemens. But when they got burned early in that third quarter, now they're going to tend to lay off a little bit more.
It's 2nd and about 3 yards to go for the Ticats. They toss to Rufus Crawford, and he was bottled up by Schultz initially and gets back maybe to the line of scrimmage, but no further. There was just super penetration by Schultz, and he was really the one who fouled up that play.
Well, I'll tell you, there was a pretty rough defense out there. Saskatchewan just didn't give them a shot.
It's all tied at 12 points apiece. The Riders had a big edge in the first half. They went to the locker room leading 12-4, and then Saskatchewan wilted just slightly as Hamilton, under the direction of Tom Clemens, has come back to tie it. On 3rd and 3, Bernie Ruoff back in punt formation and gets a good punt away. Joey Walters at his 14. Flag comes down as Walters dives through to the 25. But in all probability, we'll have a clipping call.
Could be a call against Bobby Jose. Harold Woods and Jose were jawing it up a little bit.
55 yards, the boot by Ruoff.
Clip. Saskatchewan 35.
Well, as you pointed out, Mike, it is Bobby Jose, and look at where the Riders have to start from. Their own 10-yard line.
Joey Walters is the ball carrier, but Jose was in the bottom left of your screen. Woods tried to entice him a little bit with some talk afterwards, but Jose said, "No, thank you. We had enough last week. I just want to play football."
Joey Walters was shaken up on that play, so he leaves the field. Barnes throws into the middle, and it was neatly broken up by Harold Woods. He was looking for Chris DeFrance, but Woods dove through the air to knock it down.
I'll tell you, that was a really acrobatic bit of defense. Harold Woods has had an outstanding game. Saskatchewan continuing to throw into the hook and curl areas, principally on the inside. But Harold Woods so many times has been equal to it. Pretty tough patterns to stop, but he's done it.
With Joey Walters out of there, number 11, Stuart Fraser, is in the ball game. He's in the slot to the bottom of your screen. Barnes going deep for Emmanuel Tolbert over his head. So with 3 minutes left to play in the third quarter, it is Saskatchewan 12, Hamilton 12, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, not everybody watching this game is in the stands. It's a sellout here at Ivor Wynn, but some of the young fellows taking an opportunity to enjoy this fall afternoon and also see the football game. Stands 5 yards deep in his end zone to punt. And he gets a good one away. A critical punt, and he got a beauty. This is Fields back at midfield. And he was upended there on a good downfield tackle by John McCorkindale, number 32. Clark came through with a big punt when the Riders needed it most. 43 yards into that very stiff breeze. So Hamilton takes over in Saskatchewan territory, but it looked as though they might have Possession down around the Saskatchewan 40, but Clark got a good kick away. 2.5 minutes left to play in the third quarter, and the score is tied at 12. Clements fires. Billy McBride dives in front of Keith Baker. The pass was underthrown.
Hey, McBride stayed right with him. Baker simply bent out to the sideline, but McBride covered him extremely well. Clements really took a bit of a shot going to that area because Baker was in pretty good position. A good look at it right now. Now watch McBride come right up. He almost gets a chance to pick this off.
6 receptions for Keith Baker this afternoon, gives him 59 on the season. Clements was really under fire, and again McBride dives back to knock it away from Keith Baker.
Big Mike Samples, Lyle Woznezensky, they just came on him like a wave. Clements had to unload it. The ball was underthrown.
And that was a big defensive stand by the Riders, because in that fourth quarter, they're going to have the wind at their back.
Joe Barnes would like to get something together. His offense has really not been able to get on track either. The defenses have dominated. It's been tough, aggressive football.
Bernie Ruoff's punt is high, not all that deep. This is Stuart Fraser from his 9. And a good return by the little guy up to about the 19-yard line as we go to Bill Stevenson.
Mike Samples, who played so many great years of ball with the Hamilton Ticats, now back here giving it to the Ticats a bit. Mike, how tough is it in that line?
Well, I tell you, it's a very physical game. You know, anytime you play somebody back-to-back, there's going to be little battles, little wars between each other that people are trying to settle. And that's making for a really scrappy game, you know.
Your defense is playing extremely well.
Yeah, well, ours is, but so is theirs, you know, so we've got to keep them off the board this quarter and get on there a couple times in the fourth, and we'll feel pretty good. With that win, we should be all right, I'm hoping.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Bill.
Lester Brown on the draw has no place to go. Carmelo Cartieri was first in, and then John Priestner came in to make the tackle. But it was Cartieri really that forced him back. And then Covington came in to help out too.
Their defense reacts so well. It's tough to run wide on them because you get that support from inside and you've got good containment on the outside. Whenever Saskatchewan has run with any success, they've come straight up the middle and just taken the Tiger Cats on man for man.
The loss was 4 yards, the second straight carry that Brown has lost yardage. So it is 2nd and 14. Flag comes down, probably holding, as Barnes takes the dive as he crosses the 20-yard line.
If it is holding, of course, the Tiger Cats will be anxious to get the ball. They'd like him to punt once more into this wind, swirling as it is.
Holding. Saskatchewan 65. Decline. Third down.
Neil Quilter, the right guard, number 65, is called for holding, but it is declined by the Ticats because, as Mike pointed out, with just 32 seconds left, there is but one defender back to return this punt, and that is Steve Stapler.
He'll be going after it, I expect. Ecomet Burley has come close a number of times.
Howard Fields, number 16, jockeying around. He was looking for the seam, but Clark gets it away. Stapler at the Saskatchewan 53. And Stapler gets to the Saskatchewan 45-yard line with 7 seconds left to play in the third quarter.
Just inside the Saskatchewan 45. You heard Mike Samples say that the key was to stay even in this third quarter when Hamilton had the edge. There was some contact with the kicker. They didn't think there was enough to it to throw a flag.
The draw to look like Mark Bragignola. It is Mark Bragignola back into the ball game, replacing Dave Graffey. He gets about 3 yards as the third quarter comes to an end. The score, Hamilton 12, Saskatchewan 12. We'll return with the fourth quarter in a moment. We start the fourth quarter. The ball game is tied at 12. Hamilton with a 2nd and 7. at the Saskatchewan 41-yard line, and now the Ticats are going into this win. Flag comes down. Clemens throws for Leif Pedersen. He couldn't hang on. He was really jarred by Tom Schultz. And Pedersen is down.
There was a great hit by Tom Schultz. The ball was really not well thrown. Pedersen was up well open on the play to begin with, but Clemens, again, throwing on the run as opposed to from a set position, let the ball get away from him a little bit. Pedersen made tremendous effort going up, but Schultz made sure he didn't hold on with a jarring hit.
Well, Hamilton was offside on the play. It is declined by Saskatchewan, so Bernie Ruoff and the punting unit is in there now on 3rd and 7. And barring a brilliant return by either Joey Walters or Stuart Fraser, the Riders are going to have very poor field position. Again, this goes off the side of Ruoff's foot. Walters takes it. A flag comes down. No yards will be the call against Hamilton. It's a good call because there's no doubt about it. They were within the 5-yard restraining area. Jack Blair, 41, was probably closest man to the ball. Howard Fields made the tackle.
Undoubtedly,
more yards. Hamilton, number 16.
16 Fields. Undoubtedly, Ruoff was angling for the corner and then attempting to place the ball. Did not get a good punt away, but there's number 16, Howard Fields, unquestionably within that 5-yard area.
So the Riders, by virtue of that penalty, get the ball at their own 29. Joe Barnes at quarterback for this second half for the Riders. Halbert makes the catch for the first down over the 40 to about the 41 with Gerald Best, number 14, playing the corner on that side for Hamilton, the defender.
Now look at some adjustments being made or discussed at least at the Hamilton sideline. Henry Waschuk, the veteran center. But you know, Pat, Gerald Best, the least inexperienced man in that Hamilton secondary, is a man that the Rough Riders have not really tried to work on too much. I believe that's only the second time they've thrown into his area. And both times they've had success.
Barnes throws. Chris DeFrance tried to make a diving catch. Actually, what he did, he was able to prevent Harold Woods from making the interception.
I'll tell you, they keep on trying to work against Woods, and he's been nothing but great all afternoon. They work against Best, they get somewhere. The game plan says to work on the inside. You tend to come back to it, I know, and try to make it work, but when you haven't had success now through 3 quarters and you're into the 4th, I don't know why you keep on knocking your head against a brick wall.
It is 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan from their 40-yard line. Barnes throws. Walters went up, tried to make the catch, couldn't, and it very nearly deflected into the arms of Emmanuel Tolbert.
3rd down.
But the final result is it's 3rd and 10, Saskatchewan from their 40. So Ken Clark and the punting unit comes out onto the field. And Clark this time will have the benefit of the wind at his back. Averaging 39.4 yards for his punting efforts this afternoon. A total of 10 punts for Ken Clark. Low pass from center, but he does get it away. And Fields takes it at his 29. Fields with a good return gets over the 35 to the 36, and then a flag comes down. Probably a clipping call. We're all tied at 12, and we'll be back in just a moment. The clipping call was against the Hamilton Ticats, so that forces them back to their 21-yard line. All tied up at 12 points apiece. It was 12-4 at halftime in favor of Saskatchewan. And you get the feeling this one's going to come down to one of those wild and woolly finishes. Clemens sets up the screen for Dave Graffey. And Graffey gets to the 30-yard line. He'll be short of the first down by about a yard.
Marshall Hamilton did a great job of getting away from Alan Moffett. Alan Moffett, the right guard, number 56, kind of wallows around out there on that right side and completely misses the cornerback as he just breaks back to the inside and makes a good play.
And prevents the first down. It is 2nd and a yard to go, Ticats. The give is to Rufus Crawford. Now, let's see where they spot the ball, because that Saskatchewan defense didn't give an inch. Frank Robinson was there to stand him straight up.
I'll tell you, Andre Jones had some outstanding defensive plays for Saskatchewan, but I don't know that anybody's played a better game than Frank Robinson has this afternoon. I don't know how you can ignore him from our Garling O'Keefe Game Star selections at the conclusion of this game. He's just been outstanding.
They're short
again.
You know, what a difference in this Saskatchewan ball club, though. You take Vince Goldsmith and Frank Robinson and Carl Quinnell, along with Tom Schultz. They have really afforded the Riders some outstanding linebacking this season, and that really has been the biggest difference in this football team.
I don't think there's any doubt about it, Pat. And when you have that kind of strength there, now you're going to get better play out of people like Waz, because he's had a very fine season for the Riders.
What could be the biggest play of the ball game? 3rd and inches. Down at the Hamilton 30-and-a-half-yard line. Clements keeps it. And let's see where they spot it. He appears to have it, but we'll wait and see.
McIver made the tackle.
First down signaled by referee Lauren Woods. And you know, you look at these two offensive units, Hamilton averaging 380 yards a game coming into this ball game. They've picked up only 270, but Saskatchewan, averaging 311 on the course of the season, have only gained 175 yards, which tells you something about how well both these defenses have played. Clemens throws. Crawford was jarred. Bobby Jose very nearly came in from the interception. And again, it was Frank Robinson who put the hit on Crawford.
Boy, I'll tell you, Tommy Clements was a little nervous back there with some pressure, and he took a high-risk chance throwing that to Crawford because of the coverage.
So it's 2nd and 10. Ticats at their own 32. 11 minutes left to play. Still tied at 12. Again, broken up neatly. Steve Dennis on the coverage this time. Interfered neatly, legally, of course, with Steve Stapler and broke it up.
3rd down.
Well, you can't fault anybody for that. You can only give Dennis credit. That's the kind of play we've seen out of both defenses, and why it is the opposing quarterbacks have had trouble getting any consistency in their offense.
So Hamilton now punting into the wind on 3rd and 10 from their 32. Much better punt by Ruoff this time. Joey Walters from his 37. And Joey gives it 100% effort, as he always does, and gets out over the 45 to about. Riders have pretty decent field position with 10:20 left to play in the ball game.
I don't think if the Riders gone to Dwight Edwards this afternoon yet. You just get the feeling that Dwight, with that speed of his, might just uncork one.
Yeah, let's see. Walters has caught 4, Edwards 1, DeFrance 2, Talbert 2. And they draw to Lester Brown, and Lester has nowhere to go. Well, Zambiazzi penetrated, and then everybody else came flying through.
Slow developing running plays of that kind will never work against a well-disciplined defense like Hamilton's. They react too well to it. If you're going to run against them, you've got to come up and just pop them and take them on.
Well, they've run 3 draws to Lester Brown. The last 3 running plays, they've lost 6, they've lost 4, they've lost 4. Lester today on 12 carries has gained 11 yards. Oh, great block. Well, there was a great block, but it didn't enable Joe Barnes to do much because he was forced out.
I think it might be number 53, Jerry Hornett, right there that came back on Jim Muller. Did a great job, but Barnes still forced to the sideline. John Priestner a little shaken up. Sideline just where Barnes went out. Appears to be a bit of a leg or ankle problem. Certainly played a strong game for Hamilton this afternoon, as he does every game. A good, solid middle linebacker. Overshadowed a bit by Zambiazzi, but then he casts a pretty big shadow.
The Riders will be punting on 3rd and about 18 yards to go with 9:17 left to play in this ball game. It is all tied up at 12. Field position becoming very important now. And Ken Clark would like to get away a booming punt this time. He'll have the wind at his back. But it has been an extremely well-played football game, certainly from a defensive point of view. And though the offenses haven't rolled, it is because of the defenses as much as anything else.
I think Mike Samples gave us an insight when he was talking with Bill, Pat, and said that whenever you have back-to-back, there's a little controversy, a little emotion, a little more emotion in it because you develop little private battles. 12 men on each side, but every one of them is an individual contest. Defensive lineman against the offense, and anywhere you go, the matchups are there.
Cats are going to come on this punt again. But good blocking by the Saskatchewan Roughriders enables Clark to get it away to Howard Fields at his 18. The flag comes down. As Fields gets out over the 40 to about the 42-yard line. Downfield tackle made by Don Swafford, number 69, but there is a flag down on the play.
Well, Crawford's the man who made a block that allowed Fields to get away from the first on-rushing tacklers. We'll see if the official calls him.
Hamilton, 34.
34, pardon me, I had it as 24. 34, of course, is Gord Patterson. There it is right there. You see, definitely he comes in behind the two on-rushing tacklers. Good call by the official. My correction, Gord Patterson, 34, not Crawford, 24.
Now the Ticats in a real jam. They start from their own 12-yard line with 8:35 left to play in the ball game. Clemens sets up the screen to Dave Graffey, but he has no place to go because over there very quickly was Lyle Wozniacki, number 76.
He read that all the way, Pat. They showed a little blitz, laid off the blitz. Wozniacki saw the back coming out to his side, and he played it smart and read it from the beginning.
So the loss is about 4 yards. It is 2nd and 14. Ticats back at their own 8-yard line. Clemens throws. It is picked off. Big play by number 24, Marshall Hamilton. Well, the ball hung up there, and Marshall made no mistake. He went up and speared it and gives Saskatchewan possession at the Hamilton 26-yard line.
Once again, not a good throw by Tom Clemens as he underthrew the intended receiver. Hamilton, the inside safety to that side, gets back and comes up with the interception. DiPietro was the man that he'd been looking for.
Well, that may well be your Panasonic play of the game now, Mike. It's tied at 12 with 7 minutes, 35 seconds left to play. First down, Saskatchewan at the Hamilton 26. Barnes throws. The catch is made by Talbert at about the 16 or 17-yard line. It'll be very close to the first down. So that's the way it stands. Hamilton 12, Saskatchewan 12. We'll be back in just a moment. The Ticats have turned the ball over 5 times this afternoon, 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. As the Saskatchewan Roughriders pick up the first down on the completion from Joe Barnes to Emmanuel Tolbert.
Despite all those turnovers, the Riders' offense has not converted one into a touchdown yet. Joe Barnes would like to do so right now.
Barnes throws, and it is very nearly intercepted by John Priestner, but the ball popped out of his hands. Barnes was looking for Emmanuel Tolbert.
They'd worked against Gerald Best to that outside with success in the last play that got them down to where they currently are at about the 15.5-yard line. They're working against Best again, but this time squaring in. Best was pretty good on the coverage. Priestner did a good job of getting back, almost had the tip.
Play in the ball game. Barnes is 5 out of 11 in passing. Huffnagel was 7 of 19. Barnes throws. It is complete to Joey Walters, and he's knocked out at the 1-yard line.
Having more success now coming to the outside, Pat. They'd worked to that inside so much of the game, never with a great deal of success. This occasion, number 19, Tolbert, will take Best deep. Walters bends out to the sideline. Howard Fields was able to get over there and prevent the touchdown, but they still had the first down at the 1.
First and touchdown to go, Saskatchewan, to break open this 12-12 tie. Greg Feger. Touchdown, Saskatchewan. Feger punched it in there for the go-ahead point for the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 6 minutes, 20 seconds left to play.
Well, the Riders succeeded in doing what they've been unable to do previously. They turned a turnover into a touchdown through their offensive unit. Their defense had scored early directly on a turnover, but this time Joe Barnes was able to direct a march from the 26-yard line, working to the outside area, and then have Feger go over from the 1.
Watson's point after is good, and the Riders lead it by 7 points. The flag comes down late, and we may have a roughing call against Hamilton.
Well, Watson definitely shaken up. I didn't see what had happened earlier, Pat. My attention was directed elsewhere, but there's no question he's shaken up at this point.
I'd guess that it may be number 14, Gerald Best, but let's wait and see.
Here's a look at Watson now on the convert. There's Best 14 coming in for the block, and he lands pretty heavily on his leg there. I don't know, Pat. He couldn't hold himself up. He'd committed himself in the air, so it didn't look like an intentional effort to in any way injure Paul Watson. Hopefully his leg is all right. Of course, it's very important to Saskatchewan, but
very important to Paul Watson.
Particularly.
Contacting the kicker, the call against Hamilton.
Well, it was the contacting the kicker call, as you saw, but it is waved off. Kenny McEachran is now discussing it with Lauren Woods, saying, well, why don't we get the penalty yardage on the ensuing kickoff?
It wasn't something that happened after the play, though. It was definitely within the course of the play itself in his attempt to try to block the convert. He was unsuccessful in doing so. The convert was there, so Saskatchewan has the election to simply try it again and go for 2 points or stay with the 1. And the 1 was what they wanted, so that's what they stayed with.
Well, let's say thanks to George Cootie and Bob Layden, our 2 statisticians, and to spotter Alex Ponton, who sometimes is like a sponsor to me, for their fine efforts today. as Watson lines up the kickoff. Fields, number 16, and Stapler, number 3, await down at their goal area. Fields from his goal line. And Fields crosses the 25 and gets to about the 28. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Well, here's a very happy fellow, Joey Walters. Joey, the old record was held by quite a receiver. This is for passes, completion, club record, Saskatchewan Roughriders, Huey Campbell. Now Joey Walters has superseded quite a receiver.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in the company of that kind of receiver, Huey Campbell.
It certainly is. Tell us about this game. It's a tough one.
Oh, no doubt about it. Hamilton Tiger Cats have a good team. So we're going to just go out and try to do the things that we're capable of doing. Hopefully we can stay ahead.
Joey, our congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Trailing by a touchdown, Clemens puts it up, and Graffy makes the catch at about the 33-yard line. He'll have a gain of about 4 yards.
They and Vic Rapp and Ray Yock, I think, are sitting at home right now saying to themselves, Tommy Clemens, you can do it. Put together a drive. We want to see you come up with something. It's not that they cheer for the East. They just are looking after their own self-interest.
Well, the West has really dominated the series this year. They've won 28, lost only 5, and there's been 1 tie. And the Riders lead it by 7 right now, 19-12. Knocked away. Good play by Bobby Jose. Rufus Crawford feels there should have been an interference call, but Clemens did well to get the ball away. Robinson was steaming in there.
Robinson was in. Clemens thought he'd be able to go short where the linebacker had vacated, but look at Jose come in now. I don't know. That's one of those tough judgment calls as to whether or not he interfered with the receiver. He was definitely playing the ball, no question about it. Got his hands on the ball. And there was just a tangle of bodies. But Bobby Jose reacted up extremely well.
So on 3rd and 5, Bernie Ruoff is punting. Pretty good punt into that wind. Walters takes it at his 38. Look out. And Walters is dragged down from behind as he gets into the Hamilton 48-yard line. Howard Fields was there to drag him down from behind, but a great return by Joey Walters of 24 yards.
And I'll tell you, every one of those yards when there's under 5 minutes to play and you're protecting that 7-point lead, extremely vital, because now it allows you a little bit more leeway in your play selection. You don't have to press with your passing game as much as you otherwise might, given your starting point at the Hamilton 48.
They want to eat as much time off this clock as possible. Barnes throws, and Colbert was not able to hang on.
Barnes' pass goes incomplete.
Moving up quickly was Gerald Best, number 14. Clock is stopped with 4:31 left to play in the ball game. Saskatchewan 19, Hamilton 12. A victory by the Western Riders, and they move into a second-place tie with BC and Winnipeg. They all would have 16 points.
And I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to choose right now one out of those 3, or 2 out of those 3.
Barnes throws too high for Talbot.
Well, Hamilton comes out of that pretty well. They gave up a total of 43 seconds and no yardage on that sequence. They're going to have a ways to go if they are able to hold on to this expected punt.
Well, if Kenny Clark gets a hold of this one, he's definitely capable of putting it into the end zone. The last time he punted, he booted 53 yards. If he duplicates that, he'll have Stapler 5 yards deep in his end zone. And he does. Stapler's got to get out of there, and he does that. Upended at the 5-yard line. Good tackle downfield by number 24, Marshall Hamilton.
Well, I'll tell you, there was some room to that sideline if Stapler had been able to get to it. Hamilton did a great job of knifing in and cutting him down. Watch it. Take a look now. He's trying to get to that outside and return left. And right in there, if he had gotten around, he had some room to the outside.
That was a 53-yard punt by Ken Clark.
They've got 105 yards to go. And 3:30 and counting down left in the game.
Hamilton trailing by a converted touchdown. Oh, Clements rolled out of there, but now he does not get out, gives up the safety touch. And that should pretty well do it for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What a big play, as Clements couldn't get out of his end zone.
Well, that's been the secret by the Saskatchewan defense. They've kept constant pressure on him. Doug McIver, I think, is one of the ones that puts him down, but it was Mike Samples right there that put early heat on him. 78 is Goldsmith, but 64 is the man who got him down and should be credited with the safety.
Doug McIver, number 64. The 2 points give Saskatchewan a 9-point lead.
And I'll tell you, Hamilton in no way sat back on their fat lead that they have in the Eastern Division. They've been going tooth and nail for this victory, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders have just been a little bit better from the very start of this game. Their defense has been outstanding, constantly putting pressure on Hamilton, forcing them into 5 big turnovers. Hamilton, the club, has had their success, Pat, because they've forced the opposition into so many turnovers and have given up relatively few. Today, the reverse was the story.
That's the 4th sack by that tremendous Saskatchewan defensive unit. And so the Ticats will now be kicking off with 3 minutes, 14 seconds left to play in the ball game. They'll obviously go for the short kick. Ball is teed up at the 35-yard line. Well, they obviously won't be going because Ruoff kicked it down. Dwight Edwards trying to get to the outside, does, but then ran out of bounds as he got to the 34-yard line. So it's Saskatchewan 21, Hamilton 12, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, it's 21-12. Saskatchewan leading the Hamilton Ticats with 3 minutes, 7 seconds left to play in the ball game. And if the Riders hang on, they are tied for second with BC and Winnipeg in the Western Conference. They line. Barnes had trouble momentarily with the pass from center, but he throws complete to Joey Walters. And Joey gets back to the line of scrimmage, not much further. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Well, here's a man who made the big play a little while ago, and I'll tell you, it's going to be trouble picking out the biggest play. Vince, congratulations.
Well, thanks a lot. I don't know if I actually made the tackle, but I helped enforcing it.
Well, you were in there anyway helping out.
Yeah, I was back there.
That's right. Now, the club has played tough in a game in which you got to win. You've come up big.
Yeah, we needed this one today. All the games from here on out are very important for us if we want to get into the playoffs. Because Winnipeg, they're offering a lot of pressure out there in the West, and we needed this one. We owe Hamilton one.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Boy, they just keep firing, though. Chris DeFrance makes the reception for the first down for the Riders out to the Saskatchewan 52-yard line. Preston Young made the stop.
Woods was there, but he went for the ball and tried to come around the receiver. DeFrance did a great job of shielding the ball with his body and was able to take it in himself. Woods made the gamble. It didn't pay off, and Saskatchewan marches upfield.
The gain was 17 yards by Chris DeFrance. 8 out of 16 is Joe Barnes in passing for 73 yards. Lester Brown. Brown on the draw gets into Hamilton territory at about the 52, so he'll have a gain of about 6. Steve Parker, number 60, made the tackle.
You know you've got to hold on to that ball firmly at this point because that Hamilton defense is just tearing away at it, trying to get possession. They need it dramatically. It can only be that kind of a big play, a turnover, that's even going to give them a hope.
Offensively, Joey Walters has caught 6 passes this afternoon for 90 yards. DeFrance has 3, and Tolbert has 3 receptions. Oh, good move by Stuart Fraser. He faked as though he was going to go inside, then cut it back up the touchline and gets to the Hamilton 30-yard line before John Priestner forced him out of bounds. A 21-yard gain by Stuart Fraser.
I think if you totaled up the yardage that they've made when they went to the outside against Bess in this fourth quarter, it would total more than anything they've done passing all day.
Ball is spotted at the 31-yard line with 1:30 left to play in the game. Frank Cush, well, you know that he's not happy because, as Mike pointed out, he plays every game to win, but he has locked up the Eastern Conference Championship. Chris DeFrance makes the reception and is in for the touchdown. Joe Barnes with the touchdown pass to Chris DeFrance. DeFrance made a good move on Howard Fields and brings it in for the major score. 31 yards, the length of that pass and run. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be a happy lot as they leave town this afternoon to head back to Regina.
And you can see the Tiger Cats on their blitz. They're back in man-to-man coverage. Preston Young left his coverage. DeFrance beat Woods as he worked back into the middle. And a big play by Joe Barnes as he had to scramble to that left side.
Point after by Paul Watson. It is good. So it's a 28-12 ball game in favor of Saskatchewan. You heard Mike Samples tell Bill Stevenson we want to play them tough here in the third quarter and maybe get a couple in the fourth. Well, that's what they've done.
And again, credit that Saskatchewan defense, because when its offense labored, it continued to suppress Tommy Clements and his Hamilton Tiger Cats and allowed them to come on strong with his finish in the fourth quarter. But again, Pat, really, it was a big play by the defense that set up this fourth quarter surge with Marshall Hamilton, who made an interception at the 26-yard line, and that set it up for Saskatchewan to go ahead. And after that point, Hamilton was really pressing, doing desperate things. And that's when Saskatchewan was able to come on and just really take control.
10 of 18 was Joe Barnes in passing this afternoon for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. We've got 1:16 left to play in the ball game, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to win it. They're out in front, 28-12. Watson boots it deep. Stapler takes it at his 4-yard line. And a good downfield tackle by that special unit of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Down very quickly was number 32, John McCorkindale. And he's been there so often this afternoon on those special teams. And this big crowd who was capacity here this afternoon at Ivor Wynne Stadium, leaving disappointed. But maybe they'll understand that a highly motivated Saskatchewan club, who, according to Joe Farragelli, had their worst day last week, you could not expect them to come up with 2 in a row, not under Big Joe. This is Rufus Crawford trying to get to the outside. Gets a first down as he bangs his way out to about the 38.
Tell you one thing the Hamilton fans will have to understand is something that most fans across the CFL have come to learn this season. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are a very solid contender. Don't ever take them lightly. You can't. They came out here and played against a tough and determined Hamilton club, but they played better than they did.
Clemens throws. Leif Pedersen tried to make a one-handed catch, and then Kenny McEachern hit him, but he didn't get the full force that he wanted. Otherwise, they'd be calling for an ambulance. Leif did take a hit, but not nearly as hard as it might have been had he not been on his way down at the time.
Boy, I'll tell you, sometimes it really puzzles me. People think that all the hard hitting is in the trenches, but the linemen are only a yard or two apart. It's these receivers that have to go through those wide open areas, full speed, reaching for the ball and looking for the ball, reckless as to what happens to them. And that's what happened to Leif Pedersen. He was looking back into the sun, trying to find the ball. Ken McEachern didn't do anything at all illegal. It was a good football play. And these receivers and backs have to put themselves in that kind of jeopardy time and time again.
35 seconds left to play in the ball game. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have moved into a second-place tie in the Western Conference with BC and Winnipeg. Clements goes down, the 5th sack of the ball game by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. There was great initial pressure by Lyle Wozneszynski. And then Frank Robinson will get credit for the sack as he downed the Hamilton quarterback at his 28-yard line.
And look at Leif Pedersen, who appears to have recovered. He was just a little shaken up as a result of that good hit by Ken McEachran. Some excellent seasons in the Saskatchewan uniform, and more recently for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. One of the very fine competitors in the Canadian Football League is Leif Pedersen.
Drew off the punt on 3rd and 20. The wind keeps it up there as Stuart Fraser moves up to midfield. Makes the catch and then goes down at the Hamilton 54 with just 2 seconds left on the clock. Saskatchewan has 3 games left. They play Edmonton, Calgary, and BC. They're sold out, they tell me, for next week's game against the Edmonton Eskimos. And what a big game it's going to be when they meet the BC Lions. That could be the whole season in a nutshell right there. The Lions are off this week, of course. Winnipeg with that very impressive win over the Toronto Argonauts yesterday. Edmonton playing at home to Ottawa this afternoon. Joe Barnes takes the pass from center, goes down on one knee, and that's it. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats 28-12.
Well, a big victory as far as Saskatchewan is concerned. As Pat and Mike told you, they showed a lot of determination. This is a game that they could have quit on at moments because the Hamilton Tiger Cats played so well. On the Brute survey said that Hamilton would win by 12. They figured that their Eastern leaders, the club that is clinched first, would wind up in that spot. Well, as you know by now, the fans rarely pick it right anyway, and they certainly didn't today. We're looking for Joe Faragelli, who is the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're going to be talking with Joe in a moment, just as soon as he gets over here. But he's mobbed by his players, and I don't blame them one little bit. As Pat told you, there are 3 games left. And what a wind-up in that Western Football Conference with 3 teams tied for the 2nd spot. Only 2 of them are going to make the playoffs, and that is a shame, of course. You've got players that should be in the playoffs are going to miss, but it's going to be great for the fans as they see the rest of the season go by. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders have themselves a very big victory, and the CFL on CTV will return with today's Play of the Game Award and our Stars of the Game in a moment. I want you to meet a real happy guy right now. Joe, congratulations.
Did that win badly after the poor showing we had last week. The guys were just ready. They were stirred up, and they were ready.
I tell you, you've got to be proud of the club because there were times there when Hamilton came back in that 3rd quarter, it looked like they could have taken over the ball game, but you wouldn't let them.
Well, you know, Hamilton's an excellent football team, but my guys never quit. They don't know the word quit. And they're going to hang in there, and they're going to battle. And some of the things that happened during the week concerning Bobby Hosea just stirred everybody up, and they were like a hornet's nest in practice. And I said, my God, they're ready to play. And I knew they were going to play well.
You mean the Bobby Hosea incident might have led you to victory here this afternoon?
Well, you know, I'm a rookie coach, and I don't know much about many things, but I think all the hoopla and some of the comments made about can't control the fans and all that just riled our guys up. And I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was get out of their way. I didn't say a word to them in the locker room, and they said, Coach, we're going to eat them up for you. And I said, go get them.
Now, there's one thing I want you to show us, and that is what the players gave you.
The players said, Coach, you know, that's a hard hat town, but we're going to show you that we're tough in Saskatchewan, too. So they give me a hard hat to wear, eh?
There you are, folks.
Happy Thanksgiving to all the Saskatchewan fans back home. Eat your turkey. Have a good time.
Thank you, Joe. You're giving them a very good time. Let's go upstairs to Pat and Mike.
Boy, what a job he's done, though. Joe Faragelli, you know, has been around the CFL for a number of years. Mike, he's done a magnificent job coaching them. But let's get to what you consider to be the Panasonic play of the game.
Well, we talked about it many times, Pat, as being a defensive football game, and I looked at defensive plays throughout. And there's a very big one in the 4th quarter. Marshall Hamilton made an interception on Tom Clements that really sparked a big 2-touchdown explosion for the Saskatchewan Roughriders that allowed them to take the lead in the important part of the game and then just build on it from there. So that had to certainly be given big consideration. But I think the play early in the game, when Saskatchewan really made their imprint on this game with their defense, you saw Andre Jones make an interception off this tip from Rocky DiPietro. That was a one of 2 interceptions he made in the game, and it was also a very timely interception because it followed right on the heels of another big play when Hamilton, deep in their own end, had gone to Mark Bragagnolo. Frank Robinson, who played just an outstanding defensive game, will slice in on Bragagnolo, really give him a good hit. Bragagnolo's arm, kind of in whip-like fashion, comes across, he fumbles the ball, and it was Andre Jones who picked it up 17 yards into the end zone. It was the only score, a big, big play. I think we had to go to Andre Jones for the Panasonic play of the game.
Well, let's go down and meet Andre right now. He's with Bill Stevenson.
Congratulations, Andre. You just saw yourself come through with the big Panasonic play of the game.
Yeah, I really feel great that, that it happened. I praise God once again. He's the one who did it for me.
You see, that's the first time you've seen yourself on live TV?
First time.
You look pretty good.
That looks great.
Well, talking about television, let me tell you about the Panasonic Outsider, because you won this for the Panasonic play of the game. And as it says, the Panasonic Outsider, you can take it anywhere, black and white television, AM, FM radio. It's just a tremendous item.
Great, I appreciate it.
All right, you want to hold on to this, and I'll just ask you another question or two, because I'd like to ask you about coming into this game. The club seemed to be charged up. The coach said maybe the Bobby Hosea incident last week led to that, did it?
Well, I think everybody, after we lost the game last week, everybody really wanted, we worked hard in practice last week, and everybody really got together. We was ready to go right the next day. We was ready to play them again.
Saskatchewan's a great spot to play football, isn't it?
It's great. This is my first year there, and I just love it.
Well, the fans have to be one of the elements that makes the Roughriders so good.
Yeah, the fans are great. They stick behind us. They give us a lot of support, and we couldn't do it without them.
All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Right. There he is, Andre Jones, the man who wins the Panasonic play of the game and the fine Panasonic television and radio. And this is the CFL on CTV.
And now, the Carling O'Keefe Sports offensive and defensive game stars as selected by our broadcast crew. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, offensive receiver Joey Walters is the offensive star. And from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, linebacker Frank Robinson is the defensive star. Let's meet them.
All right, you're meeting the 2 stars of the Saskatchewan Roughriders' major victory. I'm going to go to Frank first, and I'll tell you why, because I thought the defense played just a standout game.
Yeah, I felt from last week's game we had something to prove to the CFL because Hamilton came in and jumped on us. We were kind of flat because of the week off, and we felt we had something to prove, and we needed this game for us to still be in the playoff picture.
Frank, there's no question that on defense, motivation is the big item. I mean, mentally, you have to be prepared.
Yeah, especially against a great team like Hamilton. You have to be mentally prepared and physically prepared, and we felt we had to get after them today to win the game, and I think we did that, and the offense, controlled the ball for us, and that's what we needed to do.
You made several very, very big hits, but there's no doubt that your hit that led to the Panasonic play of the game, that touchdown was it, right?
Yeah, that was a very exciting play. Of all the hits, that one stands out in my mind the most because it was a simple screen pattern I had a man coverage, and I just came up, made the hit, and the ball popped to Andre, and Andre made a great run into the end zone.
Was this a tougher or rougher game than normal?
Oh, yes. Hamilton is a very physical football team. They're about the most physical team we played all year long, and, we felt for us to win, we have to be physical with them, and I think we did that.
Frank, congratulations.
Okay, can I say hi to my wife, Rita, and Regina? How you doing?
Hi. Okay. Frank Robinson, the defensive star of the game, and the CFL on CTV will continue in a moment. Thank you, Frank. Walters, the offensive player of the game. Joey, you had 6 receptions for 90 yards, and you broke a very big record. This is the Saskatchewan club record for the most receptions by a player, held by the current coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, Hugh Campbell.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said once before, it's great to be in company with Hugh Campbell, so as far as that is concerned.
You'd like to catch a few against his club, too.
Oh, no doubt about it. They got a great club, We're going to go home and get back to the drawing board and prepare to go to work.
Joey, this was a tough Hamilton club today. Very tough for you because their defense played a standout game, as yours did.
Yeah, they're a very physical team, and we had to prepare ourselves to get ready to play a physical game, and I think that's exactly what we did.
Joey, what's been the biggest difference between the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the past couple of seasons and this year, where here you are now tied for second spot in the Tough West?
Well, I think the biggest difference is the maturity of our ball club. We've been through 2 bad seasons, and we've learned to mature. We gel together as a team, and our coaching staff gave us the strength and the ability to never...
Staff, Joe... They really seem to have your number. They know how to work with you.
Yes, they do. They're preparing us and getting us ready to meet each staff that we have.
Joey Walters, a record 6 for 90. Not a bad afternoon.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Congratulations.